Alrighty, hello everyone, this is Purpleon. I'm just testing to see if my stream is working. Okay, it's just loading on YouTube. Let's see. Is it not working still? Aw, that'd make me sad.
Well, that's a problem.
Is it working? No, it's not working. Wait, 1 second. Okay, dokie, I'm back. I just am asking for help with the audio. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Oh! Okay, 1 second. Okay, it's working. Thank you for your patience. Okay. So now I know it's working. Yeah, there are a lot of funny things that people are posting online. Those aren't actual facts, sir.
Those aren't actual facts, sir. There's debris in the yard. What that's from? Is there a collision? Was there a collision? Where did that come from? Where it was positioned? That's all conjecture and supposition. Those aren't actual facts, sir.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the audio there.
When I did that, there's one test with the arm like this. That's the only evidence that was presented in his opinion or in his case. I evaluated that. I have not seen any other explanation of what happened or how it occurred. Specifically, Dr. Welcher said in his report on page 9, he said, I have conducted an accident reconstruction and biomechanical engineering analysis of this matter. If he did not recreate how he was positioned, if he did not determine the speed of impact, if he did not determine how Mr. O'Keefe's body moved, if he did not determine where he ended up, then he did not conduct either an accident reconstruction analysis.
I hope the audio is okay because my headphones aren't really working. I can't hear what the videos are saying. Wait, if I look up on YouTube today's trial.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that works.
Does not allow the crash test dummy after being struck to move, to be thrown, does it?
Actually,
That's
if
not
there's a force
working.
acting on it, it will move.
There you go.
It's a pendulum. So if there's a force acting on it, you'll see which direction it moves. If there's a forward force, it will move. It'll swing forward or sideways or backwards. It can move.
Well, my question isn't direction, it's can it show the throw? Can it throw or move the crash test dummy in its natural course after the collision to a resting spot?
No. In those tests, though, there wouldn't be any throw.
No through.
Crash test dummy is restrained by a forklift.
Wee woo.
If a crash test dummy is restrained by a forklift, it does not allow the crash test dummy to be thrown, does it?
Assuming there is throw, that's correct. It doesn't.
Wait, restrained by a forklift?
An observation of the crash test dummy to turn or fall, does it?
No, it does not. Well, no, actually, it turns, sure. I mean, it can spin.
How about fall?
No. And a crash test dummy would just fall down. And
Have you seen crash test dummies where it is held in place electromagnetically, and when the collision happens, then the dummy can move? Have you seen that?
I have, yes.
Have you seen? Have you seen?
I did not prepare for this stream at all. Wait, 1 second. I'm just gonna go into YouTube Studio Did I cancel? Oh, I didn't even cancel the last stream. Okay, one second. That could be why my white computer's acting up. Is that the old stream? Well, that's a problem. Okay. Yeah, that's the... Oh no, not delete. If I could just end the stream. There you go. And if I could go to this one. Aha! There we go! Okay. Final witness for Karen Reed's defense testified about injuries.
Well, the Karen Reed trial could be in the hands of jurors as soon as Friday, as the final defense witness returns to the stand. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brianna Pitts. Reed's defense could rest its case today after a biomechanist
And they
completed
did.
his testimony. The day started with more distractions, though, as WBZ's Penny Commit shows us.
Jurors, I apologize that took so long, but it was necessary to do rather than sending you out. So.
Another morning plagued by sidebars and objections as the defense's final witness returned to the stand.
Happy birthday, Kai. And I have 2 older ones.
All right, we're gonna stop this. Another example.
Go ahead. Less editorializing.
Minus all the personal.
Oh yeah, I think I heard it's his kid's birthday or something today.
Dr. Andrew Rentschler, who works for the company ARCA, testified that John O'Keefe's x-rays were inconsistent with the car crash.
There's no
Yeah, and he was still in
indication
court
that these
testifying. I
X-rays
mean, I guess he didn't really have a
any
choice.
fractures or any trauma or any type of injury to the bones or the joints.
And
Oh my gosh, not that guy.
prosecution's crash reconstruction expert,
Anyone but that guy.
who testified shattered pieces of taillight is what he believed caused these marks on John O'Keefe's arm.
That they're inconsistent with striking the taillight or being produced as a result of contact with the taillight.
And for the first time during Karen Reed's second trial, a counter-protester to the Free Karen Reed movement was inside the
Oh,
buffer
fake
zone.
car guy. Hi, fake car guy.
Been supporting her.
Is this the new stream? Was that a shout out to his? Yeah, I think so.
Who understand the case as well as they do, and I hope that
Is the audio of the video okay on your side? Because on my side, I can't hear it. I'm reading the subtitles.
Courthouse grows daily.
AJ on fire! What's the street, folks?
Almost there, Karen.
I wonder if I have to take out my headphones and put them back in.
The defense could rest their
1 second. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Today, then the prosecution will call their rebuttal witnesses before the entire
It goes in and out.
to the jury. The judge says that deliberations could start as early as Friday. In Dedham, I'm Penny Commit.
Friday the 13th. Mama made a good point. This trial started on April 1st, so it's going to end on Friday the 13th. Oh my gosh, that was a good clip. Here, let's see if I can find it. Is there, people don't post the, what is it, the time that she would say, like the timestamps?
Do you think that Mr. making the analysis was Mr. O'Keefe walking backwards? Is that what you determined looking at the study?
I didn't understand you had your hand in front of me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We talked about a head injury that Mr. O'Keefe had.
Yes.
Suffered from.
Yes.
That caused his death.
Yes.
Was that caused by being thrust backwards?
Yeah, the motion was upwards. Yeah.
And the way you showed it to be able to fall.
Correct.
That was looking at this, that he was thrust backwards.
What do you mean thrust? His body went backwards. There may have been some applied force too.
I don't know about thrust. I'm asking if you have an opinion. Your words. Do you have an opinion about thrust?
What do you mean?
Whoops.
Did the forensic pathology diagnosis mean Mr. O'Keefe's body was
prosecution began as a joke and is being laid to rest with a bad omen.
as indicating movement went back.
Yeah.
And you could say it was thrust.
Oh gosh, this whole trial was a joke, wasn't it? It was very, very unnecessary. So much money wasted. Sound is a bit quiet. Okay. Well, thanks for telling me.
So, Dr. Labasada, what did you mean when you described
Is that better?
that Mr. O'Keefe's body was thrust backward from a standing position?
I mean that he was standing upright and his body had momentum and went down and hit at the back of his head. So it was thrust backwards.
You cannot tell forensically how much momentum he had, can you?
No, we don't do those analysis.
If you can't tell if any
Is momentum
based on the head injury, can you?
velocity times
It was
mass?
caused by his body went backwards.
Yes. And so the amount of force causing him to go backwards, that's not something you can determine from the head wound, is it?
No, I can't tell you the amount of force. It was significant because he had the massive skull fractures.
A little quiet.
Significant.
Yes, significant force.
Yay! Okay, I
In
was right.
modern medicine, there are a number
Wow.
of different machines that can help us see the brain, like a CAT scan, perhaps,
Sure.
MRIs.
Yes.
Would you agree with modern medicine that the use of MRIs and CAT scans and other tools give a clinician equal, if not better, opportunity to examine the brain as actually cutting it and holding it in your hand?
Oh,
no,
whoops.
the actual gold
What
standard
did I do?
is
Oh, there you go.
pathology. To be able to have the brain in your hand, look at it with your naked eye. And we have conferences in the hospital where we meet with radiologists and say what we find at autopsy and see if their radiology was correct.
Can CAT scans and MRIs show contusions on the brain,
Well, they might.
subdermal hemorrhages,
Subdural hemorrhages. Yes, they
herniations?
can. They can.
Do you have any doubt about the modern medicine and the use of MRIs and CAT scans? Do you think they're inadequate in any way?
Well, I'm not a clinician, so I don't use those to diagnose diseases in living patients.
Dr. Laposada, have you ever had any experience studying the brain in real time, clinically, going and opening somebody's skull and treating the injury before the person dies?
No, I'm not a neurosurgeon.
You don't have any neurological expertise, do you?
I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm a forensic pathologist.
Do you have any clinical experience at all where there's an acute head injury and you're making an effort to observe it and analyze the injury as it progresses in an attempt to save the person's life?
I don't
How is this
diagnose living
relevant?
patients.
I understand, but as far as your background, have you ever had any experience, clinical experience, showing the progress of an actual brain injury and trying to treat it?
I understand the physiology of what happens to the brain when it is impacted by something, whether it be a bullet, a boulder, a fall. So I know what happens to the body to cause the changes.
Yeah, so
from
she
that trauma. I don't treat
Looks
people
at bodies
for
after the
those injuries.
fact.
In observing a brain that's in trauma and making determinations of how long it's viable or whether a person will expire, do you know the process that a neurosurgeon would go through in order to fight to preserve the person or save the person? Do you know the step-by-step process that they would undertake
To do what?
to try
Oh,
to
when you get to
operate or
continuous
save the
data
patient
like
from a head?
velocity recorded as a time series, you start to work with integrals. So
Well, it depends on
momentum
what the
is
brain
equal
injury
to
is.
mass
If
times
you have head injury and you have bleeding on the
int.
brain that's pushing the brain one way or the other, it would be a subdural.
So
Then a
integer
neurosurgeon would
B
come in and try to take that blood away.
Oh, the
so it doesn't
integral.
Compress the brain.
Oh,
That's something that neurosurgeons
okay,
do
okay,
to
okay,
treat,
I see.
Head trauma. They can also put in drains into the ventricle of the brain, and that can relieve pressure in the brain because that
Yeah,
brain
that
swelling
makes sense.
is a bad thing. So those are some of the things neurosurgeons
Whoa.
do to treat brain injuries.
Can they remove part of the skull to relieve pressure?
Oh, yes, they can do that. It's called a craniotomy. They can take out part of the skull if they need to.
So there are a number of different steps that a neurosurgeon can take when someone suffers acute brain trauma to try to save the person, isn't there?
Well, the job of any doctor is to try to save a human life.
Why
If
is he
you
asking
treat the
about
patient. So
neurosurgery
certainly, the neurosurgeon would evaluate
practices?
the patient and decide if there's any treatment needed.
If she's not a neurosurgeon.
When you've had cases in the past as a medical examiner where there have been issues regarding brain injury, wouldn't you agree that you have sought outside consultation with people who have a higher degree of specialty in brain injury than you?
Sometimes what we do is when we're examining the brain, we can call in for a conference and have a neuropathologist come in and review the brain with us.
And back when you were a medical examiner, you did that on a number of occasions, didn't
Yes, that's routine.
you? The reason why is because there are different specialties in medicine, and some are different and separate than your specialty, correct?
Of course.
In a neurosurgeon or a brain surgeon, it would be a different specialty than yours.
Yes.
And they're focused on the brain, yes?
A neurosurgeon does brain surgery.
And so, how many times in your career do you think that you've assisted the health
Because a medical examiner knows nothing of brains compared to a neurosurgeon.
I've never needed to speak with a neurosurgeon to
I
look at the
mean-
brain. Sometimes we call in neuropathologists.
You don't
we have a
need to
forensic
be a
neuropathology
neurosurgeon
conference where we look at
to
how-
figure out why someone didn't survive something, right? Like, you could consult a neurosurgeon maybe if it's a very particular, like a very unique circumstance. But I don't think, like, she's trained for a very specific thing. They're trained for a very specific thing. So it's not necessarily relevant to this case. Wow. Though an Emmy will most certainly handle and assess the whole physical brains way more than nurse. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
brains with the interns and residents.
Because
How often would you call a neuropathologist?
an Emmy would
Once a
probably.
month we would have a routine conference.
And again, the neuropathologist.
I actually don't know what kind of practices they use, but yeah.
Already died.
Correct.
So it's not a clinical setting or a clinical experience of actually watching the brain at work and seeing the injury as it progresses.
We don't do neuropathology like that on living people. The person is deceased.
You had an opinion to the jury today, and you said that you believe that Mr. O'Keefe died within 15 minutes.
Yes, I think that process would start within 15 or 20 minutes.
Is that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that opinion?
Yes, based on the severity of the injury and the brain swelling.
You're aware that there are numerous level 1 trauma centers around.
Oh yeah, I noticed when I watched this live,
Sure.
this
And the idea
lady
is that
has a lot of
people
trouble
suffer a brain
breathing.
injury, and if they are given medical
Mama was
attention
thinking
in a
it's
reasonable
because
amount
of
time,
so much exposure to
Well, it's possible, but many cases
formaldehyde.
severe that they cause death no matter how fast they can get medical attention.
in fact, every day when people get the right attention or proper attention,
Yeah.
they're brought to.
Yeah, she's trained for a very specific thing that is not a neurosurgeon, but that doesn't
Do you
make
think?
her
Sure.
knowledge less than a neurosurgeon.
You looked at Mr. O'Keefe's brain. Obviously, it's after he already expired, correct?
Obviously,
And
yes.
so you didn't have any clinical observation of the progress of his injury that night, did you?
I was not observing him. I did not observe how
Like,
he
for
got
some
his-
reason that reminds me of like if you told a neurosurgeon, if you asked a neurosurgeon if they're incapable of doing rocket science, in a way it feels similar. Is that a wrong comparison? I'm not sure, but like her job is very different from a neurosurgeon, but she still has to put in the work and like gain the experience over so many years to be able to do her job as well as she does, right?
injury.
When you gave an estimate or you give an opinion about how long he was alive for, are you aware that there's certain tests that are done by neurosurgeons when people are suffering brain injuries but there's an attempt to save them?
Sure.
Have you ever heard of a Guzma coma score?
Glasgow, you mean?
No, this is Glasgow, but you've heard of Guzma?
It's called Glasgow coma score.
Have you ever seen the assessment that a level 1 trauma center goes through when they're trying to save somebody with a brain injury?
I'm
He's
generally familiar with
trying to
emergency
correct
procedures to
her?
save somebody's life.
Why is he
Have you
trying
heard
to
of
correct
studies
her?
attempting to correlate the brain injury with the time somebody would live for?
I'm aware of that, and I see that in my practice of people who have survived brain injuries and die of something else. Then I can look at the brain and understand how the brain can heal or react to injuries.
And many people who suffer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Brennan did that.
Brain surgery,
Hey.
and many of them pass after time, don't they?
Every case is different.
Some might live for an hour, hours,
Yeah.
weeks, months, or survive the injury.
It
Isn't that fair to
depends,
say?
it depends on the case.
And you don't have to write a book about the alphabet to know the alphabet.
To identify the amount of time Mr. O'Keefe would have lived if he had the appropriate help. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't think it would have been effective because there were massive skull fractures to the base of the skull, and there are cases where the amount of force and energy applied to the head, causing skull fractures, breaking the neurons, causing the brain swelling, despite rapid medical treatment, those people cannot be saved. They can't effectively stop the brain swelling.
Many people can't be saved. Did you know that about 1/3 of them do get saved?
I don't know what you're talking about. 1/3. Everybody has different sorts of injuries. 1/3.
Yeah, it depends
With a Clivis,
on
right?
what was
Are you aware that
measured.
1/3 of those patients survive if they
That's a very bad statistic to just throw in there.
Are you aware that a study would show? Have you ever read a study by Isaac Wolf on Clivis fractures?
No.
Have you read any studies on Clivis fractures?
Clivis fractures? Yes, I understand what Clivis fractures are. It's a part of the base of the skull.
Okay.
And
And
it
have
depends.
you-
Oops. Okay, go ahead.
Please. Did you want to
No,
say?
you go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you read any studies that
Hey,
tell
hey.
you, with the proper treatment, despite these potentially catastrophic injuries, that 1/3 of patients can survive?
No, but that's not the case we have here.
And so in this case, I asked if you had any objective criteria. You don't have any objective criteria about the progress of Mr. O'Keefe's wound that can be a basis for you to conclude that he would have died in 15 minutes. Isn't that fair to say?
No, I understand what happens to the brain when it gets that sort of injury. I understand the time course and the physiology. I've seen hundreds of individuals who've had brain injuries. Some survive for a longer period, some die earlier, and it depends on the amount of force and the amount of brain swelling. And in Mr. O'Keefe's case, we had the massive skull fractures of the base of the brain and immediate swelling and subarachnoid.
Is he going to ask her about force now?
Force applied to his head, which caused the brain swelling and the herniation and the
Oh,
progression
I
of the
see.
brainstem down through the foramen magnum that stopped the brain. It was a very forceful impact.
Oh, wow.
You examined his brain after. You looked at photographs. You can't tell us objectively when his brain swell started.
It started immediately after impact.
And you can tell us what the progress of that brain swell was by looking at his postmortem photos.
By looking at the postmortem photos and the postmortem examination, I can tell the degree of force from the extensive skull fractures that were present.
What was the degree of force?
It was medium to large.
Well, that's a wide range. What do you mean? Quantify medium
I'll
to
strike
large,
the comment.
please.
Ask the question, Mr. Brown.
What does medium to large mean?
Enough to cause a lot of fractures to the skull. He didn't just like sit down and lie down.
Yeah, it seems
lie
like
down, he probably
Bev is allowing him to go ahead
Yes.
with
And so when you're telling us you can identify that he immediately died or died
it was
in
like
15
pretending
minutes,
to be
I'm
smarter
asking for
than
objective
the expert witness of 30 years.
I'm asking you what objective information you have. And so you said that there was a large amount of force, correct?
Sure, but because there were massive skull fractures and there's a lot of energy transmitted to the brain, starts swelling immediately
How do you know this wasn't medium force and not large force?
because of the extensive number of skull fractures.
So are you saying it was medium or large force?
Medium to large.
Okay. How much force is that? Can you quantify it?
No.
I mean, I guess it depends on
objective
what has
criteria
been
you
hit.
have
Like, if you hit
to support your opinion?
a sheet
Mr.
of
O'Keefe
metal,
died
maybe not a sheet of metal. If you hit
My training and experience of seeing
a
thousands
block of
deceased
metal,
people
that'll
with brain
have a
injuries
different,
and knowing some of their clinical course when they get immediate medical treatment,
like,
they
level
don't
of
survive.
damage than
What
maybe
do
a
you
skull
do?
or, like,
Depends on the case.
I don't know.
And in this case, you didn't have any opportunity to
Right?
observe the progress.
It completely depends on each
correct?
case what medium to large force would be, I think.
I wasn't there.
You had-
The body told me what happened to it.
You have no assessment of the development of his brain injury and how much time it took that night, do you?
I do, from understanding the significant skull fractures and the swelling of the brain and the compression of the brainstem that all happened very rapidly because of the amount of force that caused all those skull fractures on the base of the skull that actually then hemorrhaged into his upper eyelids. That's a large amount of force.
Was gross edema found on his brain?
I think it was swollen, yes.
But was that a finding?
Yes.
Where did you see that finding?
Well, in order to have the herniation of the brainstem, the brain swells.
Where did you see that finding?
I can't answer that. I just know it from understanding, looking at the pathology.
So at the end result, at some point, Mr. O'Keefe had gross edema.
In order to get the brain stem hemorrhages, the only way you get that is because the brain has swelled. And there's no, after injury, tissue swells, and there's no place for the brain to go when it swells except down into the natural hole in the bottom of the skull where the spinal cord goes down. So that's where the pressure goes. So that seeing the brainstem herniation tells you that the brain has swollen a lot.
Undoubtedly, but it doesn't tell you when it began to swell or the progress of that swell, does it?
I don't know what you mean.
You see inevitably because of the swelling, there's the suffocation, but when you see that, you don't know when the swelling began or how quickly it progressed. You can't tell that from an autopsy.
Yes, you can, because of the severity of the skull fractures. I know there was a lot of force, and that force applied causes you to go unconscious, then your brain swells. If there was just like one skull fracture, then that's a little bit different. But this was massive skull fractures on the base of the skull. So there's a lot of force applied. So I know because there's a lot of force applied to cause the skull fractures, that the brain would swell rapidly.
Surface effects, frequency, and type of pressure points. Material composition and thickness effects peak force distributed across each pressure point.
Well, I do know the amount
Okay.
of force because of the amount of skull fractures.
In what you know is
Yeah, because if it's just a point or if it's like a
You've heard
larger
of
surface,
periorbital
that also has a big impact.
Yes.
and that's sometimes called raccoon eyes.
Well, periorbital ecchymosis
So
just means
medium to
bleeding
large would
and
just be
bruising
like,
around the eyes.
in this situation, for a skull, it would be a medium to
Well,
large
it
force.
wasn't bruising caused by blunt force trauma to the eye. It was
Okay.
bleeding in the upper eyelid because the plates
See
above
if
the
I
eye
can-
and the base of the skull were fractured by the brain hitting it. So then that's a result of basilar skull fractures and not the application of force directly to the eye.
Would you agree it takes a few hours for the bleeding to accumulate in the person's eyes?
No, as soon as you break the skull bones and the heart's pumping, the blood comes out of those injuries. It starts to accumulate right away. It starts within minutes, you can see it.
So you would disagree with the suggestion that it takes at least 1 to 2 hours for that bleeding to occur in the eyes. You disagree with that?
I do disagree with that. It starts immediately.
Do you have any studies that you've relied on or literature or support for that?
I understand the physiology of what happens when you get those skull fractures and the density of the blood vessels. And if your heart is pumping, you pump the blood out those broken blood vessels into this small area above the eye. And
Do you
it
have any-
it can happen within minutes.
Do you have any studies or literature to support that?
That's my training experience. I can't cite you a particular article at this time. I could certainly go look it up and bring it to you.
Okay. Let me ask you questions about the wounds to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head.
You can simplify the surface one falls onto
Yes,
a spring which
vertical
compresses.
lines, yes.
Yeah, that makes
Would
sense.
you characterize this as a
The amount of compression is inversely proportional to the peak
wound
force exerted
caused
on
by
the body.
falling backwards and landing on your head?
What do you mean,
Oh.
that every wound is different.
Every wound is different?
Sure, every person's different. Every way.
Yeah,
you
because
get
the
injured is
compression,
different.
that takes up the energy.
And
If
so
it
if
doesn't
somebody falls
compress,
backward on
then
their
the
head
energy,
and suffers
or not
a
energy,
nasal fracture,
the force
the
force
wound from your
spreads
perspective can look different.
to the body.
Depends on
I
the
think
impacting
it's
surface.
that right.
Wounds on the same surface, say 2 people fell on the same surface, could they have different wounds on the back of the head if they suffered the same injury?
In theory, if they fell, if they rotated their body, if you could reproduce something exactly, then you would see the same wound patterns.
This wound pattern is typical of falling backwards on a hard surface, isn't it?
We know it's from falling backwards and striking something hard.
Can the frozen ground be hard?
Frozen ground can be hard.
When I saw this live, I thought it was just so funny. Can the frozen ground be hard? Well, if there's a decent amount of moisture in the ground and it's frozen, and frozen means that it's hard water, then it is hard. It's a funny thing to ask a forensics person, because isn't it funny? Like, is the frozen ground hard? It does sound silly, doesn't it?
Injury.
We'll get to that, but is it
Oh, okay.
hard enough to cause a basal fracture?
It can cause a skull fracture.
The frozen ground is different than a sheet of ice, right? It's not smooth and flat like a sheet of ice, is it?
It could be, I guess.
Yeah, he just keeps asking her questions like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
The area in front of 34
Force across the
feet
spring
frozen
is
ground,
negative
do you
K
know if there
times
was any
X.
impediments in the lawn that was frozen?
Yeah.
The what? Oh, the lawn?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, I saw the scene photographs when the snow was removed, and it was like winter lawn grass. So it was some green, some brown that was pushed down, and like straw that was going.
It'd be fun to look at
direction,
some
which
physics
wouldn't give you
things
that pattern.
and talk
See
about this.
The exact area where Mr. O'Keefe last moved?
I saw that general area, and there were a lot of photographs. Yes.
But I think I'd have to review
Tell us a
physics.
photograph of the spot where Mr. O'Keefe was lying when he was found.
Yes, that general area.
Could you see the ground where his head
That makes
Can you
sense.
identify that?
Yes,
Longer
they-
deceleration
with the
period means
investigation,
lower
they
peak
shoveled the snow
force.
off of that area.
And you had never had a chance to go out to that scene yourself, did you?
No, I just looked at all the photographs.
You cannot see what's under the grass and the dirt, can you?
Well, dirt's under the grass.
You don't know
Okay.
if there's any rocks or impediments or bumps.
It was a smooth surface covered with grass.
It was a smooth surface. The front lawn was a
It
smooth
was a
surface.
flat surface
Flat.
covered with grass.
Okay, and do you know what was under the grass? Whether there was any pebbles, rocks, debris
I didn't see any.
from the photo?
Correct.
But you don't have any first-hand knowledge that exact area where he ended, what the turf was like, do you?
I saw photographs of that lawn where they removed his body from.
So you're relying solely on photographs.
I think that's the strongest thing Hank has said this whole time is, are there any rocks there? Because, oh gosh, the other day I was walking in the park, and I tripped over this rock that was in the middle of the path, and I didn't see it because it blended in so well. But then again, if I don't know if it's in a snowy or grassy area, it might be more obvious, but that probably was the best thing. Whoops, that probably was the best thing he could have said at
Correct.
that time.
Do you know if Mr. O'Keefe was wearing anything that could cause abrasions when he landed to cause that scraping pattern in addition to the linear abrasion?
He did have a baseball hat on, but that would not cause that pattern.
The area of the abrasions, is that in the area of the level of where a baseball hat would be on the back of somebody's head?
It could be.
If somebody hits the ground and falls backwards, can they slide?
And if they're on an incline,
What if they're thrust?
well, if you fall backwards and you fall backwards on an incline, your body might move.
Or what if you fall backwards on flat ground? Does the body, can it move after it falls?
Not really, maybe a little. If from the momentum of the impact, it might move slightly, but not really.
So when a person falls backwards and lands, you don't think their head has any room for movement?
Not significant.
Well, not significantly, maybe just a quarter inch, half an inch.
No, it's possible.
And did you see the scrapes around the wound of Mr. O'Keefe's head?
Of course I saw them, yes.
And they're all within, what, about an inch?
What are you describing? What part are you describing? The tearing, the laceration of the scalp, or the vertical abrasions?
The vertical abrasions.
There were maybe an inch, inch and a half.
Inch and a half. Do you think that if someone fell backwards and landed on the head, they could move an inch and a half?
Well, he landed on something that had a ridge on it to cause the laceration in the scalp, and then with a little bit of movement, those vertical.
Did I miss
caused
it?
Some kind of like pebbly-like surface.
Oh, that's what. Oh, as Hank Brennan was about to cross-examine, called him out for wishing her a good afternoon with the 6 minutes still remaining. Oh, I thought they were. This is such clickbait. I thought it was gonna be about how she said. Didn't she say that Karen Reed was, or not Karen Reed, that John O'Keefe wasn't struck by a car? That was the most shocking part of her testimony, I thought. Huh. This is how the jury reacted to Dr. Wolf.
I'm
Let's
just
see
trying to
that.
convict Miss Karen Reed. I'm just trying to convict. Oh my
What?
God.
What is a static test?
Sustaining that, ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
How do you ask differently what is a static test?
What is a static test?
The same question, but no objection this time? Huh, Brennan? Because your objections are BS, maybe?
What is it that we're looking at right here?
So this is an exemplar set of taillights from a 2021 Lexus LX570.
All the defense's witnesses have multiple Commonwealth gets destroyed
Well,
moments.
hello,
It seems like
everybody,
it.
and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law. Folks, today we're going to be reporting with Attorney Mary Foreman inside the courtroom where I was when Dr. Wolf testified. Folks, we're going to do a very succinct, directly to the point, as always. I will give you my additional assessment, something that you have not seen before on this particular trial in this particular case. I have done it last year when I heard Allie McCabe testify in open court when she cried. It was the most amazing moment to see it live and then to watch it on video. And I don't know if the camera will capture me in this particular segment, but I am in the courtroom. I'm breaking the fourth wall, obviously, doing this video. Jackson is doing the direct examination. Brennan is doing the cross-examination of Dr. Wolf. And
Yeah, wasn't
let's get
he
right into
there?
this. Oh, and before I forget, if you have not checked out our members-only content, go check
Was
it out.
he here
Memberships are
there,
99
like,
cents for an intern,
a few
and
days
so you
ago,
can
or was
check out
that
all of the
last
content that
week?
we have under the paywall, and most of it is going to be Diddy at this juncture.
Ultimately, in March of
Oh,
2025,
no.
were you hired by the defense?
Yes.
Okay. Were you asked to do anything or to review anything from the Commonwealth and any of their experts? It's
kinda bad when the feds experts start clowning on your case in the witness box.
Regarding the Lexus
That's true.
and Mr. O'Keefe.
Oh
Yes.
gosh, I hope the jury figures
My
out
understanding
that
is
it's
we were
the
asked to
feds.
review and evaluate
That would
the
be good.
report and analysis conducted by Dr. Welcher.
Did you receive Dr. Welcher's reports?
Yes.
Did you receive his raw data?
Yes.
Did you receive his 140-plus page PowerPoint?
Yes.
And did you undertake a review of all of that data in order to evaluate that data?
Yes.
What methodology did you undertake at that juncture before you began any testing? Just your review process. What methodology did you undertake in terms of your review of his evaluations and his opinions and conclusions?
Well, I think when reviewing his report and his analysis, I look to his opinions, and then I look to what's the basis and the foundation to those opinions, right? How did he ultimately arrive at those final conclusions? So I'm looking for the methodologies that he followed, what testing did he do, what type of experiments, what type of data analysis, ultimately to provide that opinion.
Ultimately, did you prepare a PowerPoint presentation in furtherance of memorializing your review and opinions and conclusions of his evaluation and testing?
Yes.
Did you bring that with you today?
Yes.
Do you have that with you on your computer, or are we?
They might think
you're
you're the sleeper age.
With the court's permission, could Dr. Wolf
Oh
present
no.
his PowerPoint presentation? Okay. Your Honor, I have
Oh yeah, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. They might think, oh, there's more to this. Maybe Karen's like evil or
His nickname is
something.
Data Daddy.
Right, so we'll mark it for Data.
I find it amusing.
Or then,
Data Daddy. You guys should have heard the cheers that were ringing
yeah, I
throughout
guess
the
it could go
entire
either way.
courtroom
I know
after
last time
he
it was a
left that
hung
day. This
jury,
is
so
Friday around, I want to say 3:50, 3:55. Remember, we terminated the court early. at
hopefully
3:45
they
because we
can
needed to go home
figure it
early.
out.
So he left.
They should be able to
courthouse.
see
He
the
left courtroom, he
supporters
left
outside.
courthouse around 3:50, 3:48, something like that. And at 3:55, we hear woo, 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 and everybody's looking around like Karen's looking at her parents because there's a sidebar. We call them bench conferences. I always want to say bench conference. Same thing. Sidebar.
The sidebar.
So they're at the sidebar, and Karen just turns around, looks at her parents, and just smiles. It was great. It was absolutely great.
Super
There's both
spy.
being in the courthouse.
Dr.
Yeah.
Wolf, you see what's displayed or presented up on the TV screen?
Yes.
Do you have with you, by the way, just a matter of housekeeping, something called a
What
spotlight?
if, is it
something
Mr.
that
and
can
Mrs. Smith where like one
do whatever spotlight is back?
person
Yep.
is
Okay.
like a spy and the
I may
other
ask you to employ
person
that, or I
is
may
an
take it from
assassin
you,
or something?
at some point as we're discussing this.
That
Do
would
you
be
recognize on the
funny
screen?
if that was real.
What is this?
This is my PowerPoint with just the first page, the title.
If we could move to the next slide, please.
Whoa,
Describe what
PowerPoint.
we're looking at.
Woo!
in this
Oh
slide.
no, aperture.
This is from Dr. Welcher's
Aperture
PowerPoint
science.
presentation, slide 121.
We
In
do
which he's
what we
indicating that
must
there are lacerations on John
because
O'Keefe's
we
right arm
can.
and forearm, and he's indicating in this slide that the location and orientation of the lacerations on John O'Keefe's right forearm and arm are consistent with the geometry and orientation of the right rear taillight of the Reed 2021 Lexus LX 570.
In coming to your...
It's the same argument. I used it before. It's well, listen, you have never disproved that there are onion men living on the moon. Therefore, my conclusion is onion men must live on the moon. And that, folks, is called a logical fallacy.
Oh my gosh. The tragic ending of Spy Family? Logical fallacy, like, what are you talking about? It's funny. One time I was talking with my friend in high school about how... Okay, well, she was talking with someone else about how it's ridiculous that people think there are lizard people living under New York. But then I asked her, do you have proof that there aren't lizard people living under New York? And she was kind of speechless. She's like, what's going on? I mean, of course I know it couldn't be true, but I like I like playing around like that. So Hank Brennan doing that knowingly is kind of funny. Or wait, is it Hank? I'm pretty sure that's who he's talking
You mean
about.
just because something has not been proven yet, it must be true? Well, just because his arm and forearm are kind of like the same kind of sort of shape as the Lexus SUV in the taillight or whatever, the junk, it kind of looks like that. So if you take some blue paint, it'll rub off on me. That's perfect. Yep. If the arm fits, you must convict. What? No.
Have you or someone you love been injured as a result of someone else's negligence? Or worse, lost a loved one because of it? I am attorney Larry Foreman, and myself and my team of trial lawyers are ready to help you to get the absolute maximum compensation permissible under the law. We know the system. We understand how to win. Anywhere in the United States, 24 hours a day. 1-844-774-HURT. Call us. We can help you.
You could be a great prosecutor in Massachusetts.
Did you consider the opinions and conclusions of Dr.
I
Welch
guess
in
so.
conducting your analysis and your
I should
ultimate
study
testing?
the LSAT.
Yes.
Oh, I don't
Did you rely on Dr.
wanna.
Welch's report and
It's
his
too
PowerPoint
much
in reaching
work.
your conclusions and opinions, ultimately in this case?
I don't know that I relied on it. Certainly, I utilized them to have an understanding of what his basis was for his opinion and what his opinion was. Ultimately, at ARCA, we did our own independent testing to evaluate that.
So just to be clear, I'm not asking Dr. Wolf if you agreed with his opinions and conclusions. I'm simply asking, did you rely on those in order to come to your opinions and conclusions? Did you incorporate them?
Sustained is to...
Did you agree ultimately with Dr. Welch's opinions and conclusions?
Sustained.
Why? Why? Did you agree or did you disagree? Why would you object to that? That made no sense in the courtroom, and it makes even less sense now.
You certainly were aware of what his opinions and conclusions were, correct?
Before Mr. Jackson...
For the love of bench.
Were you aware of Dr. Welch's opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
Are some of those opinions and conclusions represented in your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Are some of them represented on this slide?
Do you
in
have
your
proof
PowerPoint?
Karen Reed is
Yes.
innocent? Yes. Then do you have proof that
indicated
Karen Reed...
This slide indicates that the location and orientation of the lacerations
Karen Reed
on
is
John O'Keefe's right
innocent.
forearm and arms are consistent with the geometry and orientation of the right rear taillight, correct?
I'm so
Correct.
confused.
Are the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm lacerations?
That would be an opinion from my colleague, Dr. Rentra.
You ever heard the phrase abrasion?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
In your
Continue
opinion,
until
are
everyone
the
is confused and then
injuries
move
to John
on.
O'Keefe's right arm
Seems like
better
it.
described as lacerations or abrasions?
I always find it strange when it seems
I
like they're
don't have
asking the
opinion on
same question
What I like about
over and
Wolf
over
is that
again.
he never offers something that he's not absolutely confident in. He's like, look, this is not my area. This is more Rentschler. Ask Rentschler. I'm not the guy for that. Okay, cool. Moving on.
Slide number 2, please.
It's perfect.
Based on your review of Dr. Welcher's reports and his data, what testing did Dr. Welcher undertake or conduct?
So he did, initially,
no.
it appeared that he did a static test, if you will, just demonstrating holding his right arm out adjacent to
Why is he
the
holding a
rear taillights on the right
glass?
side of an exemplar Lexus to demonstrate
You know what a static test is? It's like a, look, I fits. Guilty. Like, what?
Oh my
theory
gosh.
of how the arm contacted the taillight.
Is this the guy who dressed the exact same as the victim? I
What is a
think.
static test? How do you
Oh,
ask
no.
differently, what is a static test?
What testing did you note that Dr. Welcher
Now
did
can we get
with
back
regard
to my question
this
again for the
particular
15th
photograph?
time?
What is a static test?
Well,
It's the same question, but no objection this time, huh, Brennan? Because your objections are BS, maybe.
static test that neither the arm or the vehicle is moving. It's just he's aligning his right arm adjacent to show how his arm aligns to the geometry and the dimensions of the
Larry
Lexus.
looks so
Would you appear to be
uncomfortable.
wearing similar clothing as John O'Keefe was wearing on January 29, 2022?
Yes.
Was there any significance or purpose for that in your opinion?
Eh.
In this test, no.
Did you
Yeah.
identify any limitations?
It was
with regard
not
to this
important
genetic
at
testing
all.
undertaken by Dr. Welcher?
Well, it's very basic in that the only thing that this demonstrates is that you can get your right arm to align with the taillight. Beyond that,
Yeah.
it doesn't tell you anything with respect to what happens to the arm when it makes contact with the taillight, right? What's the motion of the arm? What's the damage to the taillight? What's the acceleration of the arm? What's the forces of the arm? So
Yeah,
it doesn't
aperture
answer any of those other
wasted.
questions. The only question it answers
Like half
is,
a million
does the arm
dollars.
align with the taillight?
You're aware that John O'Keefe was 6'1", correct?
Correct.
Can only a 6'1" person align their arm with taillight?
No, the arm is adjustable, so certainly people of different heights could also meet that
Mm-hmm.
alignment as well.
Just by pivoting your arm, right?
Sustain.
How
It's true.
Describe the ability of somebody 5'7", 6'3", being able to align their arm with taillight.
Just changing the orientation and the posture of your arm.
Was there any scientific significance,
It's on a hint.
in your opinion, of this particular test?
Brilliant.
Again, other than
Good job, Welcher. You have a shoulder. That's the
Oh my
only conclusion
gosh.
you have reached.
just demonstrating that it aligns with it, no, nothing beyond that.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at here?
So this is an extracted frame from one of his dynamic
Oh,
tests
no.
in which the vehicle is moving at about 2 miles per hour into his arm, making contact with his hand, his forearm, and his elbow.
What is a dynamic test as it relates to a static test?
So that's when something's in motion, and in this instance, it's the Lexus moving at about 2 miles per hour into his arm.
Did Dr. Welcher explain what the purpose of this test was?
From what I recall, I think it was to demonstrate that when his arm makes contact with the taillight, he observed pain transfer in the general location that there
But
were the abrasions.
I think
and
that would be
lacerations on.
more relevant if there was an actual physical transfer of something to his arm. In this case, it was supposed to be the headlight. The headlight breaks because of the cold and the amount of force between the headlight and the arm. Why are they testing to see where it hits like that if they don't even know he was standing like that? It's a bit strange, isn't it? Whatever was hit by the car was going to be accelerated at the same rate. More mass is greater resistance, more damage and injuries. Yeah. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, this test made absolutely no sense. Oh gosh, I think ARCA did a much better job at interpreting how do I say it? They did a much better job breaking down the main issue and trying to test for it than Aperture did.
His arm.
I've always been wondering if Welcher worked for the Blue Man Group.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's a good
I think
point.
finally-
Blue Man
Did
Group.
he appear to paint the taillight?
Because
He did.
that does look
You
like
see
the
that
same blue,
Dr. Welcher appears to be
doesn't
wearing an
it?
orange t-shirt. Yeah. Sustained. What are you wearing?
It's an observation.
Appears to be an orange T-shirt.
Is that similar to what was described as John O'Keefe having worn that night on July? I'm sorry.
Okay, wait. Should I? I have an idea. Okay, wait.
January 29th, 2022.
Yes.
Is there any significance to wearing that t-shirt?
Not that I can think of, no.
Did you note any or identify any shortcomings with this particular test?
Well, much like the static test, again, it leaves the door open to all those questions, right? About, again, doing this at 2 miles an hour doesn't tell you anything about, well, what happens at 10? What happens at 15? What happens at 20? Right? In terms of what are the collision forces? What's the damage? How does the arm move? What would the expected injuries be, right? This dynamic test, as well as the static test, doesn't answer any of those questions for us.
It answers nothing.
Is this test from Dr. Welcher considered a force calculation?
I'm not aware of him making any type of force calculations or measuring accelerations or anything of that nature, no.
So Dr. Welcher never accounted for physics. He's Trooper Paul reincarnated. That's why they don't need Trooper Paul for trial number 2, because they have Welcher to Trooper Paul all over this case. You know what I'm saying? Because Trooper Paul already had and Trooper Paul lied. He said that presumably John's arm would have been somewhere up here, if you remember that testimony. If you haven't heard his testimony, go to my channel, go to my playlist. You will find Trooper Paul right in there. Can't miss him. There are 4 videos, grand total of, I'd say, maybe just under 2 hours of all of his testimony with my commentary. Just his testimony alone is like an hour and a half, hour 20, something like that, on cross-examination, of course, because who cares about the direct by Lally from last year. But Trooper Paul, there's a still frame, there's a shot of Trooper Paul holding his arm like this, saying this is how John O'Keefe had his arm at the moment of impact. And now Welcher saying, no, it was here, like this. They're all lying sacks of...
Did Dr. Welcher conduct any testing to determine whether the damage to Miss Reed's Lexus was consistent with the striking of an arm of a pedestrian?
I'm not aware of any impact testing that he did, no.
Did Dr. Welcher conduct any testing to determine the forces necessary to cause the damage to the taillight of Miss Reed's vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Did Dr. Welcher conduct any testing to determine the forces necessary to cause the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Did Dr. Welcher provide any opinions as it relates to the speed of the subject, Lexus, at the time of the alleged incident?
No, from reviewing his report and his PowerPoint and analysis, I could not find anywhere in it a specified speed or even a range of speeds.
Wow. Just wow.
Did Dr. Welcher provide any opinion as it relates to the forces experienced by the taillight in such an impact?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Did Dr. Welcher provide any opinion at all as it relates to the post-impact trajectory or movement, if you will, of John O'Keefe's mass or his body subsequent to the alleged conduct?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Unbelievable. Physics has left the chat. Literally, physics has left the chat, folks.
But do you recognize this photograph?
With
What's
Wolf,
his name?
physics has entered
Vulture?
the chat.
What is this?
So this is something that you probably have heard and certainly I've discussed already, but this is looking at the right rear corner of the subject Lexus, specifically in the area of the damaged right taillight.
Did you consider this photograph in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
What, if anything, of significance did you note about this taillight other than the fact that it's damaged?
Well, I'm going to jump to the next slide, if you will. So this is now the taillight obviously has been removed from the vehicle. So obviously what's important here is looking at what is the damage that we have to this taillight. What components were damaged in this alleged interaction. So we're looking at the clear diffuser at the bottom is fractured and missing. Same with the ones on the vertical side. The majority of the outer red lens is also missing and fractured. And then on the back side, we also have some damage in terms of some fracturing to that black plastic. And there's also a chunk of plastic missing on the top portion of the taillight as well.
Oh my gosh, it's almost as if somebody came up and plucked the pieces out and finished breaking it, just making it a nice clean brick all the way around. What a coincidence. It's almost as if it's a conspiracy. No, couldn't possibly be. There are no such thing as conspiracies, Larry. Go back to your DUI law. I love
Oh my
Larry. It's one of my
gosh.
favorites.
Do a couple of questions about that diffuser. If you could focus your attention on this area. Describe for the jurors what they're looking at in terms of the diffuser. What is the diffuser?
Right, let me see if this. So the diffusers, right where my mouse is, there's a...
This is huge, by the way. Pay attention, folks. This
Oh.
testimony right here, I was like, at first I didn't...
Okay, wait. I want to watch, but first, I need to find a picture. I have Photoshop open. Why are they all files that I can't use? How rude. Okay, wait. Control plus. Maybe I can get it bigger. Nope. That should work. Save. Okay, that should do it. Okay.
didn't realize, like, why are we going there? And then I'll just preview real quick. The amount of sheer force that is required in order to penetrate into the taillight and make it, like, first of all, if you were to break the diffuser, the amount of force that would required to break the diffuser would probably shatter the entire taillight completely into, like, the plastic and all. And I'm not talking about the plastic of the lens. I'm talking about the entire contraption that is the housing of the taillight would just be eviscerated. Because, as you will see in a few moments, there are multiple tests that were done with this light by itself and inside an SUV. And each time there's damage to it, the damage is either much less significant, in which case the taillight housing stays intact, maybe just a crack or something, maybe a few pieces missing. But in order to get it to this condition, the whole damn thing would have to be destroyed and the Lexus to go along with it. So it just makes no sense. It's completely impossible. It was tampered with, it is clear, and Wolf is there to prove it. And the diffuser, if the diffuser had been broken by sheer force and momentum of a body, the entire back of the Lexus SUV would have been carved out like this. And of course, there's no damage. Nothing, which is not physically possible. And that's what Welcher can't account for. That's why force equals mass times acceleration doesn't work for him, because he's beyond physics. He's in the realm of imagination, basically. If you want to look at it that way. He's in the realm of fantasy. He's in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. He's not in the realm of reality, Welcher. Wolf is in the realm of reality. So listen on.
A clear diffuser that runs along the bottom, and then there's another diffuser that runs along here, and then it also goes up vertically. Same here on the bottom one, that also goes up vertically. So this piece was missing and fractured on the bottom, along with the vertical portion. The chrome piece here you can see is also fractured and damaged, and then the kind of the second tier, if you will, that clear diffuser was also fractured and broken on the upper section as well.
Was that of significance to you in your review of the damage to the taillight?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because that tells me that we have to have enough force and energy to break, we talked about earlier that 5mm thick red outer lens. We have to have enough force to be able to get beyond that, to now start penetrating into the interior components of the taillight to get to, again, those clear diffusers, and certainly cause damage to get induced out the back end of the taillight as well.
The whole thing would explode. Do you understand? The entire thing would just be obliterated to high heaven. It's just not possible to have all this force just randomly concentrated in one area. It's not possible from a physics standpoint. That's what Wolf is saying.
May I have just a moment?
Yes.
Now, it's not as clear yet because we're at the beginning of his testimony. We haven't gotten into his 10 mile an hour, 17 mile an hour, 29 mile an hour tests yet. But for those of you who've already seen it, and of course, like I said, I have because I was inside the courtroom on Friday and I heard it all firsthand, it's just not possible based on the tests that they've conducted. And they conducted some good tests too.
Dr. Wolf, did you bring with you an undamaged taillight exemplar?
The show and tell was so good.
Here with me.
The jury was eating it up, by the way, folks. The jury was just like, nom, nom, nom. They're like,
Nom,
jurors
nom, nom,
love
nom.
demonstratives. Demonstratives are king, especially in a case like this. They didn't do that in the first trial, and I'm so
How do I
glad that
do
they did it in
this?
this trial. Everyone was just like, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh, I was just looking for it.
Yeah.
Thanks for nothing. Describe what it is that you brought with you.
So I brought a two-part assembly. So what I did is I 3D printed a bracket so that I could mount the liftgate taillight assembly as well as the quarter panel taillight assembly.
And these are undamaged in sort of manufacturing specs, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor. Okay.
I think they're looking for it, and it's behind him. I remember this part.
You know that we up there at the witness stand?
Yes.
Could you retrieve that with the court's permission? Okay. You could remain standing for just a quick second.
This
Is
video
that
does not
too
do it
much?
justice. In person, when he was holding that thing is massive. It's massive. That thing is absolutely massive. That's what she said. No, seriously, that thing is huge. Like, when you're looking at it in court, when he brought that thing out, everybody and their mother was like, that's a big thing. And to kind of like,
Is
in
that a
mind's
bit
eye,
too
try and
weird?
pretend like it's smashing against the person and like killing them. It was so good. It doesn't make any sense. Jackson should definitely bring that light out in closing. It had such a huge impact on the jury. I forgot to tell him.
Do you recognize what that is?
Yeah, because
Is that
actually
what you
having
just
something
described?
physically there would have helped a
Describe
lot.
one more time for the
I would
court and jury.
imagine.
What is it that we're looking at right here?
So this is an exemplar set of taillights from a 2021 Lexus LX 570. On my left side here, this is the liftgate taillight assembly, and it's attached to the quarter panel taillight assembly.
Maybe
I know it's not normally like that.
brush
Obviously,
is
you
too
can't have a
big.
connector, else you wouldn't be able to open the liftgate, but I've printed a bracket back here so that these can remain as one unit.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to have that marked as next in order.
Is that coming into evidence?
Yes, if possible.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So how...
May I approach?
Aunt
Yes.
Bev is
Now they're gonna mark it.
angry.
There.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Wolf, you indicated that there was a 5mm area of acrylic covering fuse, correct?
Correct.
What I'm knocking on, is that the 5mm acrylic?
Yes, both on the quarter panel part that you just pointed to, as well as the liftgate part.
Mr.
Those-
Jackson,
There
why don't
we
get back to the
go.
witness and let him do it instead.
Why?
Oh my
I
gosh.
never understood that.
Is there-
Why she did that? That made no sense.
She's rude.
It's much better for the lawyer to do it because he's the one talking about it.
Through that lens material into the diffuser
Maybe that actually might
that
be
you've just been
better.
describing.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, in this area here, there's a diffuser that's running along the bottom.
So, Dr. Wolf, I'm going to ask you to not have that supposed to court reporters.
My apologies.
Use the other side of the witness stand.
Yes, Your Honor. So along the bottom is the clear diffuser that runs along and then goes up vertically. And then on the second tier, there's also a clear diffuser that runs along here and then goes up vertically. And you might be able to see it through, it kind of looks like there's little dots on it. So that's what I'm referring to in terms of the diffuser that's underneath. And that, again, so you have that outer material that's 5mm roughly in thickness. And then those diffusers are about 3mm in thickness underneath this.
Could you make a determination, and you can go ahead and have a seat. Well, actually, you may not want to. Could you make a determination of the space of the gap between the outer plasticine area, the outer acrylic area, and the internal diffusers? You can just estimate that gap.
If I had to estimate, I'd probably estimate around an inch, maybe inch and a half.
Okay. You indicated that something was of significance to you in this photograph about the diffusers on the subject taillight, correct? Now that you're holding that, what was it that was of note to you, Dr. Wolf?
How
So,
can I
so
make
as I
this
mentioned,
darker?
we have damage not only to this outer thick quartz end, but it was enough force and energy to then penetrate deep enough to fracture the underlying diffusers that sit below this outer surface, and certainly enough force then to work its way back through inducement into the backside, and ultimately there was a top portion of the taillight that was also fractured up here.
Was all that significant
Guess
to
that
you in your
works.
review of the subject taillight material?
Yes.
Why?
Okay, you can go ahead and put that away.
I wish he asked why.
Okay.
I was literally sitting in court and I was wondering, like, why didn't you ask why, Jay? Why was it significant to you? Well, because of the force required in order to penetrate into the other.
The Blue Man
inner
Group
layer
does
diffuser,
specialize
and
in
I was
building
like,
new instruments out of a bunch of scraps. The Blue Man can make a whole case out of nothing. Looks like the ideal engineering professor. Oy, oy. What if they submitted those large X-ray prints into evidence so the jury could compare the physical taillight to the life scans directly? That would be good. Yeah.
Jackson, ask why. Jackson, ask why. But unfortunately,
Okay.
it's not my place,
Oh,
and I
wait,
wasn't
I
going to
have to
butt in,
fix
obviously, in the
this
middle of testimony. But that was the one. There were 2 times when I was like, Jackson, ask why. Jackson, you didn't finish. Ask why. But anyway.
Okay, continue.
Yes.
Can we go to the next slide? What are we looking at here?
This is a
There we
collection of
go.
photographs that depict various fragments from the right rear tail lamp assembly of the Lexus. And I will note that, and I'll try to spotlight it, there are a few
export
fragments in this
that.
photograph that are glass fragments, which, as I discussed earlier, there's no glass in the taillight, so these did not originate from the assembly. But altogether, from what I recall, there's about 50 fragments, I believe, that were counted or so, maybe a little less than that from the right taillight.
If we could go to the next slide, please. What are we looking at here?
So these are photographs depicting the sweatshirt or hoodie that Mr. John O'Keefe was wearing on the night of the alleged incident.
And what was the role that this played in your analysis, ultimately?
Well, so one of the things that I noted, and I can go to the next slide, is there were a series of small punctures or holes in the sleeve, on the right sleeve of the sweatshirt in varying sizes. I think some as small as just a few millimeters.
That's the evidence, unfortunately, that Chloe left behind. When she bit him, I bit him, I bit him.
Again, I think there was maybe 10 or 12, I think I recall, on
Yeah,
the
Chloe's
right,
the dog.
right sleeve of that sweatshirt.
If we could go back to the larger, previous slide. Do you see the right sleeve denoted on the photograph to the right?
Yes.
Your review of these photographs, what was the significance of the triangular sort of arrows or markers?
I believe those were to annotate or draw attention to those holes.
Okay, the defects in the right sleeve?
Correct.
Can you count those for us, please?
On the photograph on the right, I believe I see a total of 9.
And what about the photograph on the left, just the right sleeve area?
Image?
9 as well.
Aha. Okay.
If we can go to the next slide.
Oh, oops.
What are the arrows pointing to in these photographs?
So this is basically the previous shot, but what appears to be close-ups of some of those evidence markers.
You indicated some of the sizes. What were some of the smaller sizes of those defects?
a hole. From what I recall, like I said, I think it was around 3 to 5 millimeters, maybe some of the smaller ones.
How big is 3 millimeters in inches?
It'd be probably around like an eighth of an inch or so.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
And how could possibly a shattering plastic taillight puncture cylindrically
There we
in a perfect
go.
circle something that is jagged and abnormal to just perfectly carve these circular round holes? It just, nothing makes sense here, folks. Nothing.
What are you describing when you say the word fundamental, or you write the word fundamentals?
So I
They keep trying to use glass and plastic
very
interchangeably.
basic concepts that I hope kind of resonate as we go through the
Yeah.
PowerPoint, so that you have an
It
understanding
seems
of
like
the underlying
a
physics.
pretty
of what I'm talking
important
about.
thing, like the
Can you go ahead and
material.
describe the role of an accident reconstructionist and the
I am
fundamentals
shocked
an
that they haven't
accident
called a
reconstructionist undertakes
mistrial.
when performing
I mean,
the
well,
kind of
there has
testing that they
been
perform.
calling for mistrial, but the judge hasn't
as I mentioned
allowed
earlier,
it.
when I was describing what a simple definition of accident reconstruction is, it's the application of physics and engineering to collision events. So this is, I want to go through some very basic elements of that so that you have an understanding of the physics.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What are we looking at here?
So this might be something you all remember back from high school physics, but even though it's been around since the late 1600s, we still use these laws today. So what we're looking at here is what I've done is just describe Newton's laws very simply. So, and again, you might be familiar with these. So, for instance, if we're talking about Newton's first law, an object at rest tends to stay at rest and at a constant speed unless it's acted on by an outside force, right? So
I remember this live, and it's like, looking at the jurors, folks, I can tell you, the jury was not impressed. They were very, very upset at the fact that Jackson could not ask a simple question about using the scientific method, because they're hiding it. The government is hiding the fact that the scientific method was not used by Dr. Welcher. But who cares, right? Who cares about science and numbers and physics and formulas and stuff? When you live in La La Land and you're part of the Blue Man Group, you're just going to convict people based on conjecture. You don't need no facts, no evidence. Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson. Oh, I am for real.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just trying to convict this kid.
No!
Oh my
Not copyright.
God. Oh my God. Don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe.
Please don't
Folks, I swear
copyright
to
my
God, we're gonna continue
video.
this. The trial is coming to a close. I'm here for it. I'm ready for closing arguments. I don't know if you are, but I am very excited to do Jackson's on this channel. And then the jury's going to be out to deliberate. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Okie dokie, that was a good video. Let's see. What else can we find? Ooh, interview.
I think you spoke for a lot of people when you said that. When I read that, because part of me was feeling that. Like I didn't.
Was this a juror from the last?
Because there's no do-overs.
Yeah,
if
last
this doesn't go
year.
the right way. If this ends in conviction, which I hate saying that, but like if it did, you don't get to do it over. So you have to get it right the first time. You have to, and you're like, oh, it is such a gamble. It is such a gamble not calling these people.
Yeah, I mean, and I was trying to. So I've been trying to like watch this. And admittedly, I've not watched every testimony beginning to end because it turns out when the Commonwealth is not paying me $50 a day to be there, I don't have as much time as I did the first time.
I mean, I might have missed a lot. Turtle Boy's trial.
I was trying to watch it from like a juror eyes. I was trying to
Oh,
put myself
is Turtle
back
Boy
in
going
that
through a
chair
trial?
and being like, I don't know other
What's
than what
going
they're
on?
telling me, right? And that's where I started getting concerned because the things that. And I can see, you know, what's going on Twitter and all the things that we all are focusing on about, you know, Man Shannon lied on his resume or whatever, right? But those aren't the things that like will likely stick with the jury at the end.
That makes sense.
Those will be the things that it's like, yeah, okay, the guy's a loser, but maybe he just didn't want to admit that he didn't have his degree. So,
That's funny.
But he has 15 years of experience. I'm making this up. I don't remember how much, but like, so he could still be credible, right? So that's how I was trying to look at it as a juror without having all of the stuff beforehand, if that makes sense. And that's
I think
where
they're trying to go after him and get him removed from the press area.
Because I mean, it's a very different case. I think the defense has a stronger
Wow.
case this time, but I think the Commonwealth.
I wonder if there's a
showed
particular reason they're after him. Because I mean, I know he went
less
to the
of
house.
Less of the.
But is that enough
shenanigans,
to
I
get
guess?
him
I
in
don't know what else
trouble?
to call it.
Was he
and more
doing
of
something, or
the-
do they
the
just not like
flips,
him in the
this,
courthouse?
Like,
Like I don't
That's
know if people are picking
weird.
up on the FBI. I'm telling you, I would not.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you
wouldn't.
had no idea about the
No
FBI
clue.
despite the couple, but it's right. Ryan Nagel actually saying FBI and you had no idea what this other. What did you think all these other hearings were that they kept talking about and
I had
other
no
long? No
I
clue.
had absolutely no clue. I thought it was like I don't know, like a meeting last week. I had no idea.
Yeah, because
It never occurred to me that I mean, I guess I just figured it was like a grand jury from like a week before. I had no clue, like
I'm
none.
With you. I'm with you.
But
on
I
that
don't
one.
know anything
Yeah.
about I don't know anything about the legal system, so I have no idea.
It's one of the big
That's what
reasons
I'm
everyone's
saying.
eyes are on
Like,
this case.
even if- I
Maybe they're
said
holding
this
a grudge
before, and I'm
against him
like,
for all the
even
attention.
if this jury does know the FBI was involved, I don't think they
'cause
understand.
Was it him or was it another
I think they,
YouTuber who
like,
said that they wouldn't have paid attention to this case because apparently the prosecution said there was a video of it happening,
Like if you mention, oh, the FBI is involved,
but it turned out there wasn't a video. So
investigate can't read. Like to, you know what I mean? Like so, like
yeah,
or to,
all of a sudden people
fuck,
paid attention because
nobody
it's
would
like, oh,
ever
there's something
guess that,
sus
like,
going
they're,
on.
They're investigating the investigation itself. Like that's fucking crazy world.
I would have never picked that up. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
But Hank played it off.
I missed the slip of the FBI, and honestly, I think if I had heard it, I don't know that I would have put two and two together and connected it. I really don't think I would have.
You know, I didn't think the trial was actually going to fucking happen. The first trial, I'm like, after the Toohey report came out and all this FBI stuff came out, I still can't believe that after getting that 3,000 page report, which was what was in that report, all the text messages, right, the butt dials, the destruction of the cell phones, right, the Proctor texts, the and of course the ARCA report was all in there, and any ethical prosecutor looks at that and they're like, whoa.
They wouldn't have
hold on
taken it?
here. Let's reevaluate. Let's take a deep breath. Do we really want to go forward?
The Turtle
with
Boy is
this?
still a
Is
judge's
it
tongue.
ethical to go forward with this?
Maybe.
Like, you know, like
Oh, gosh.
Federal always says, it's just like,
Is it the same one? The
time to
same
make
kind?
the donuts. Like back to work tomorrow. It's like nothing happened.
I wonder if he
at
got it
all.
as a
You know,
joke.
they just went right forward, and they're like, you know what? We got the judge. We got the judge. We're good. Like we don't have to worry about like this trial's going to be in favor of. Let's talk about that actually. What did you think of Auntie Bev as a juror?
So, again, at the time, I knew nothing but what I saw. She seemed
That makes
like
sense.
she was kind to us, right? I mean, like in the sense that she
It's funny.
would like give us breaks if we had to pee. I mean, literally, these are like bottom bare minimum things looking back, right? But
Yeah.
at the time, I was no smarter to know anything else, right? I mean, I would notice when she'd be like, you know, I'll let them have it. That would drive me crazy when someone would object, and I never knew what the objections were about. I had no clue. I was like, was that mean, or I don't know.
Do you
what's
wish
going
you
on.
knew? Do you wish you knew? Would that have helped?
I don't know, because even if I did know, I don't know that I would have known what it meant.
I don't think
I mean,
Why didn't you like the "I'll allow it"? What bothered you about that?
because when the defense would object, no, so if it was
What?
this way, so hold on, let me just think for a second. So it was when the defense was crossing, and when Lally would object, and she'd say, "I'll let them have this one." Drove me crazy. Like, why
Why?
are you letting them have it? Like, either it's fair and proper, or it's not.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
didn't love that.
It kind of sounds like like she's doing them a favor. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll allow it. It's like, no, you're
Yeah.
you're not allowing it. You have to. Like, it's the rule. Like, that's what's just. Is
I guess there's a
they're
different way
right.
it could have
That's
been
another way of
phrased.
saying they're right. So I will allow it. Like, you're
I
not.
still think
allowing
she's
it.
guilty.
The law
Oh.
is allowing it, isn't it?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
the way she would say it
surprised.
is like, I'll let them have this one. Seemed like she was
But-
doing them a favor. That's exactly how I would say it. And I
I
did
feel
not
like
say
there's
it
just
that
so
way.
much.
Like, it was almost like begrudgingly.
Like,
yeah.
What's the
We'll
word?
allow it.
Like, I'll throw them a bone on this one.
Yeah, right.
So many
I'll-
things
I'll-
contradicting
I
each
won't
other
let them
that
have
you'd
the
think
next
that they would have
the
changed
next
their
group,
minds by
but-
now.
Did she seem biased towards the prosecution as a juror?
She seemed biased towards the defense.
Oh, really?
Towards the defense, like, you mean against the defense?
Yeah, no. Sorry. Yes, I'm mixing them up. Sorry.
Right.
It's
that
been a
was
long
funny.
day. She
Yeah.
seemed she was with it seemed like she was with the Commonwealth and against the defense.
Right. Okay. So you picked up on that as a juror. That seemed like she was giving them hometown calls and hometown cooking.
I mean, in some places yes, in some places no, because some places it was just so obvious.
Mhm.
With the, you know, I'll let them have it and stuff like that.
Now, do you think
And I'm trying to think back at the same time too. So I mean, I might not be saying all of
Right.
this the totally right way.
what was that like to be? I mean, every day. So you would go. She warns them every day not to go watch their social media use. I'm sorry if you have social media then you're consuming Karen Reed content. It's impossible not to.
That's true.
Did you go on social media as a juror, and how could you possibly avoid Karen Reed content when you would go on social media?
I went on TikTok, and
Oh, no,
all
not
it was
TikTok.
Taylor Swift because
Oh, not anymore.
Oh, no.
TikTok.
At-
Karen Reed
at
owns
the-
TikTok now.
Well, at the time,
Yeah.
at the time,
Why is
you
they
know,
in
it
charge
was
of
during
everything?
the
Let's
Eras
just use
Tour,
the
so
Warship
it was
Believes the
just all
prosecution.
Taylor. So, and I'm, you know, it's when she added the tortured poets to the set and everything.
Oh
so
my
that was my
gosh.
TikTok.
But you wouldn't, like, you're on Twitter
Yeah,
now.
didn't Bev swear
Now I
at
am.
the
Carrie was impossible
the
to
defense
look
under
at,
her
so you weren't
breath
on Twitter at the
once?
No, I've never.
She
used
called them
Twitter. I think
a-hole
I
or
had
something?
An account from like
That
2
that
years
was
ago
very
that I,
bad.
like, had to reset the password 6 times.
Now, what about Facebook? Did you go on Facebook, and was it like there's a lot of Karen Reed
I
stuff
don't
on
even
Facebook?
like. I don't even like Facebook now, so no, not really.
Okay. All right. So you didn't have a problem avoiding Karen Reed content when you would go home every day?
No.
Okay.
No.
So where would you guys like the bus every day? Like what? So what time? It had to be fucking early. Where you guys met somewhere and got on a school bus every day and parked your cars there? And it
Oh,
was
I didn't
driving?
know jurors had to.
Well, it was like
Travel
a
like
fancy
that.
school bus, but yeah,
Fancy
that
school
was the
bus.
gist of it.
Okay. And did you guys become friendly with each other?
People
I mean,
like-
There's 17 of you at first. Did you like them? Dislike them?
I mean, you don't love everybody that you have to talk to every day. It's like going to work. They're not all your friends, but you tolerate them, right? So.
Yeah. Speaking of, juror number 5 was eliminated on.
What are
she
what
was
you gonna say about that?
accidentally picked up on camera. That was the day that Jessica
Oh.
Hyde testified, and she had to be on Zoom for that. And she was eliminated. I believe you had something to
I had
do
to
with
meet up
that,
somewhere
didn't you?
secret
I
and
mean,
get
you-
bus to avoid presence.
Did you
of-
report?
Oh,
Or were you one of the people that?
that
was
makes sense
called
because
up
people
about
could
that?
just follow them home.
Yes.
So did she say something to you inappropriate?
That's kind of scary, actually.
There was a comment that was made. Yes.
Are you able to say what that comment was now, or no?
I mean, I'd rather not because, you know, why drudge up? It wasn't just me. And, like, it wasn't just me who had to go in and talk. So,
Okay, so a couple other jurors also heard this comment.
I don't remember if they heard it, but I know that I was not the only one that talked to the judge. So I guess let's just leave it at that because I don't want to speak for anybody else or say anything that had anything to do with anybody else.
Okay, because I think it did have it was in the motion to dismiss, wasn't it? This
Oh,
whole
they didn't want the
thing, or
jury to
am
see
I-
the
am I
protesters.
dreaming?
I'm going to be very
But
honest.
would it
I
even
never
be
read that
possible if the
because I was far more
protesters
hot
are
and bothered
surrounding
that,
the building?
you know, it
Huh,
was
they must have figured out
out
something.
in open court
So
talking about me. So
well, she
Yeah.
at least she was respectful.
But
enough
then
not
again,
to
there
say
are
mean
protests that
things,
happen that
but
you can
for like 5
disagree
minutes,
with.
but
yeah.
So-
So
I don't know how
let's
much that
talk
actually
about
would have
that.
swayed
Have
their
you received
opinion.
any sort of
Hopefully it
threatening
did,
emails from anyone? Any
Okay, well,
YouTube
obviously it
content
didn't
creators?
enough. Hopefully it does this time.
in general or recently?
In general,
Yes.
really. Okay. Care to say who they are?
My lawyer has advised me not to.
Okay, not to talk about the threatening emails you received. Okay, so because that's interesting because Ryan Piotrowski,
Jury in Depp versus her.
immediately as soon as the trial
Oh,
ended,
I have
he
no
cried
idea.
victim, and he said that
That was a really fun trial to
Turtle Boy
watch.
is gonna dox me. Or I don't even know what he said. It ended up, ironically, it ended up being Kevin Lenahan from Plevin from Yellow Cottage Fails, who ended up doxing Ryan Piotrowski first before anyone, and he lied in his. And this is interesting because it involves you, because he said that during deliberations they could hear Karen Reed supporters outside every day cheering
Oh.
loudly, and that was used to extend the buffer zone like 400 feet or some shit like that. And then you provided an affidavit for Mark Rendaz's lawsuit that ultimately got the buffer zone fixed, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Oh, but did Karen
And
step
what
on a
did
bee when
you-
she was
what
yelling, I hit
inaccurate
him?
about what Ryan said.
She stepped on
in
3
his
bees.
affidavit?
I stepped on it, I stepped on it, I stepped on it.
I'd have to pull mine
I think
up
that
and
sounds
look-
about right.
and compare the two. I don't remember specifically.
Well, for one, is it true?
I'm
that,
guessing you. I'm guessing you know though. So
is it true? Is it true that jurors could hear Karen Reed supporters during the breaks and whatnot?
The B movie 2.
I think that we
No, the
could
B
hear
movie
things from time
3,
to time, but it was
maybe.
no more than like normal noise, right? I mean, it was nothing that it was like crazy. No.
So you didn't hear "Free Karen Reed" or anything like that coming? People chanting that?
No, I never heard chants. I never saw signs. Nobody ever like came near the bus or the back door when we were going in and out. Everybody was very respectful, which is what I put in the affidavit.
Let's talk about how jurors were chosen. So you were picked on the second day, I believe, right?
Oh God, is this a quiz? I don't know.
How do I know more about you than you?
Because I don't know. I guess maybe I blocked some of it out.
So I thought
what day
that's
did
what you told me.
Was it the second day?
I thought you told me it was the second day you were picked. And so
I don't remember now.
all right. Well, do you remember what you were asked when you were brought up in during jury deliberations? You filled out your form, and then they brought you up, and
Yep.
they asked all the jurors. The Lally is standing there with the defense attorneys and the judge, and what did you guys talk about?
I'm trying to remember. They asked me about the news and watching the news, and I said I watch the news to get the weather. And then Bev said, well, can you get the news from somewhere else? And I said, I suppose I could ask somebody. She said, or you could just look out the window. And I said, I suppose I could do that too.
They asked you if you watched the news,
Yeah.
and they don't want you watching the news. Okay.
I don't know.
I guess because
Okay.
it'd be that big of a deal.
Did they? What else they asked? Did they ask if you had family in law enforcement or anything like that, or?
That was on the questionnaire, yes.
Oh, because
And do you?
No.
O'Keefe
Okay.
was a police officer.
And
so that
did
would
they
make
ask
the
you, like, if
jury's
you
biased.
blindly
The jury's
if you
biased.
trust police or anything like that? How'd you respond to that?
Yeah, so actually I looked at this questionnaire not that long ago. I think I said, no, I don't blindly trust the police. I mean, and the question that I got at sidebar, that the day I got picked, I mean, I know the question and I know the reason. I know they sent me away 3 times and then brought me back and kept asking me questions. They did ask me about TikTok, so I did tell Lally about my Taylor Swift TikTok.
Okay.
I don't think he cared.
Oh my gosh.
No, the question they asked me was,
oh no.
Are you more likely to believe a police officer just because, or a law enforcement just because of their job, right? And my answer was, a person's profession does not define their character. So no.
Okay.
So I think
So-
that's kind of what ended me up in there.
But yeah, so the why do
This
you
whole
think Karen
jury
picked
selection thing
you?
is like a
I mean, there was
personality
hundreds of
quiz.
people they went through. What do you think she liked about your answers?
Wait, she picked me?
Yeah, I mean, Karen's extremely involved in her defense, like for a defendant. I mean, ultimately her attorneys did, but they don't do anything without her, approval.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know who actually picked me or if I was just because they didn't want to waste an exclusion, to be honest.
They want okay. So you get picked and you go through this whole whatever day, however you're there for months. And then you become an alternate. How pissed were you?
Alternate?
Well, I mean, it
What does
wasn't an
that mean?
alternate. I got dismissed.
Okay.
So,
So you dismissed.
Oh, she was
You didn't get to
dismissed?
deliberate.
Correct.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed
Oh my
were you?
gosh.
30.
30?
Why? Tell me what.
Oh,
your
wow.
Thoughts. How are
Oh,
you
yeah,
feeling
that's
after
fair.
You got dismissed. Like, what was it like driving home that day after you
16
just wasted
personalities.
3 months
Oh,
of your
no.
life dedicated to this bullshit, and now you are going home?
Why
on
was
the
she
final
dismissed? I
fucking
must have
day.
missed
What does
it.
that feel like?
Well, I was mad. I mean, I was mad.
Anything else?
I mean, no. I was that day. I
Wow,
was
she's
just mad.
Sometimes she's
I
good
was
with
just
words, and
mad that
sometimes
day.
she's
You're
not.
just mad.
I mean,
Who were you mad at?
I mean,
Were you mad at Auntie Bev because she kind of like your transcript with her has been entered into your whole conversation, and you sounded like a deer in the headlights when I read that whole back and forth between the two of you.
is it told they need to
And
vote?
she was like asking
Oh,
you if
so
you were
she was
drinking
taken
at a
off?
bar 6 weeks ago or something like that, and you were
Ah,
like, I don't know.
that's
I
so.
don't know.
Ah, that's
I don't,
weird.
Like, you're allowed to drink at a bar. Last time I heard, you're allowed to do stuff like that. And she's like asking you to remember shit that you did 6 weeks ago. Meanwhile, the witnesses that you just sat through, none of them remember anything that fucking happened 2 days ago. And you're supposed to remember, 6 weeks
So
ago.
at the end, they get rid of the extras.
Allegedly, like
Yeah,
you're out at
yeah,
the
yeah,
bar, and you're like, what was I saying? Like, I don't. You never said anything bad. You never talked about the case openly, did you?
No.
Yeah.
So
And
she
so did you felt like
was forced to sit there for 3
there
months,
was
but
no
actually
reason to
had
leave you with her
no
at all?
effect on the outcome.
Okay. And everybody always asks this, and I know the answer already, but did you have any interactions with John Fanning?
No.
Okay. Because a lot of people are like, think that John Fanning was like on the bus or some shit. John Fanning is just a guy that fucking somehow is in charge of security and involved himself in this somehow. I don't even know how the fuck he got involved, but he just did. But next question I want to ask you.
I was going to say, I can't say anything more than what I just did. Again,
Okay.
I've been advised not to, so.
Can you say who your lawyer is?
No.
Okay. I think I know who it is, but back
We're
to
going to
the.
just leave it at that.
Okay. So you
So
have.
I'm not purposely evading your questions. I'm just trying. I have a line I can't cross, and I have.
Oh, so she doesn't want to
I'm
get in
trying
trouble with
toe that line
Campton.
as closely as I can, but there's things I can't say.
Why? Can you answer this one? Why so secretive? I mean, are you scared? Is it because you're
Imagine losing
scared?
4+
Are you
weeks of work,
worried?
only getting $50 a day, and having to listen to Lolly the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that-
So, are
That would
you
make me
worried about
angry
being
too, but I guess she
doxxed?
can't.
Are you worried
Maybe
about,
she
like,
can't say
putting
how
on a
angry
program
she
like
is
this? Are you
because that could
worried
get her in legal
that,
trouble. Like if something
there's a
happens,
lot of
then
people
they'll look
that
at
don't
her.
like Karen
I'm not
Reed,
sure what could
and that don't
happen,
like-
but
and they're very vicious. Some of these people, they're very
yeah,
mean.
there isn't
Where
really
they
much
say
reason
mean
for
things
her to
about
not
me,
be able
they
to say
make
how angry
memes.
she is.
They're ugly, vicious people. Does that worry you at all?
Yes, very much so. I mean, and
Okay.
I think that's why I've never wanted to say anything, because I just, nobody wants to be called, terrible names on the internet and, have
Yeah.
their stuff smashed all over the place. So, I mean,
Okay.
but at the same time, I mean, I'm kind of like at the point where
She has to live among these people. Yeah,
I'm
that's
a little,
true.
I'm fed up,
Hey,
right?
hey.
I mean, I think Karen's getting hosed, and I'm just fed up with the way that this whole thing is going. Honestly, I mean, just watching this and watching what's been happening, it's just crazy. I mean, this woman is getting railroaded, and it's just insanity.
So you didn't deliberate, and you have somewhat of a strong personality, and so does Victoria George. And the
Yes.
other woman who was also eliminated was also a. Have you talked to the third woman, the other woman that was eliminated, the other alternate?
Yeah. Yep.
And she's pretty. She believes Karen's innocent and would have voted that way.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that's 3 women who all would have voted not guilty, all of whom were eliminated on the final day. Do you feel
How did
if
they
you were
know?
in that room with these people deliberating, would you have tried to would you have been like a Henry Fonda in 12 Angry Men? Do you think you could have persuaded some of the others to see the light?
I mean, I would like to think so, but then, some of the stuff I hear coming out of there, it's just mind-boggling to me. But I mean, I think I would have been able to at least have people see common sense, right? Because to me, this whole thing was about common sense, right? I don't, there was, I think to some extent, right? How are such smart people so dumb? It's like they're too smart for their own good, right? That they can't actually see common sense.
That's a good way to put it.
Extent, like, I feel like that's where they missed it, is they were too like focused on being super smart and like, well, this and that, right? And so, I mean, I feel like I would have, I know it doesn't sound like it right now, but I do have a strong personality. I do think I could have convinced some of them. I do think that, it probably would have, I don't know that it would have gone in full acquittal, right? I mean, I can't say that I would have been able to do that, but, I mean, I do think that I would have been able to bring a few more people onto the, this is nonsense side.
Yeah, I mean, like Ronnie seems to have been banged around like a ping pong ball in that deliberation room. And last week you told me that you think Ronnie's kind of full of shit.
To some
Wait,
extent,
who's
yes.
Ronnie? I kind of zoned out for a
because-
second.
How so?
There are some of us that have kept in touch, and you hear things differently, and the rememberings of things are not all the same, and the commonality seems to be some of his memories.
And I believe you said that you believe his memories are that he was actually a guilty voter. That he's kind of lying about being a not guilty voter.
I think he's convinced himself that maybe he wasn't, but that's, Again, I'm going off hearsay, right? I wasn't in there, so I can't say for sure, but I can only
So I guess,
just say
do they
what
talk about what happened in the deliberation room after?
You're still friendly with at least one person who was a deliberating juror.
Ah. Oh, is she?
I mean, you could say it. You might as well say it. I mean, who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Oh my
Who cares?
gosh.
Who cares? What the fuck's gonna happen? Like, oh no, Plevin's gonna fucking. Who cares? Might as well just say it. Who gives a fuck? Stop it.
Wow. she's too nervous.
I'm trying to be
Oh my god, she has a Paw Patrol. Sorry, why did I just notice that?
Wait, so
I'm friendly. I've stayed
Why
friendly
was-
with multiple jurors, some that were deliberating, some that were not. Yes. I mean, I'm not going to give names. I'm not going to say yes, no, or who or what, but I mean, and I'm not.
She's still on friendly terms with someone
like I
who's
said,
in
I'm
that
not trying to
courtroom.
be purposely evasive. I'm just trying to be respectful to the other people that haven't necessarily wanted to speak, and so I don't necessarily, I don't want to speak for somebody else. That's all I'm saying.
how come none of the other? So there's 3 jurors who voted not guilty and stayed that way the whole time and would not budge, and I call those people heroes because they held the line in the face of pressure, and they were not going to let this woman get railroaded. They were not going to do it ever. They were never going to give in, and I love those people.
Me too.
But none of them. I would love to talk to one of them. I know who 2 of them are. I don't know who the third one is. I know one was a
Oh,
man
Turtle Boy's done a
who
lot
was
of
sitting
research.
2 seats, who was sitting in the first seat. Juror number 1, I called him. He was a not guilty voter. He's the one who has spoken to Christina Rex a couple times. Another one was the young lady who I believe is sitting directly next to you, right? The nurse.
Yes.
And she was a very solid not guilty voter. And I'll tell you one thing. She was the one during the deliberations when I was talking to Karen Reed's team. We're like, who's holding this jury up? What is going on? And we were trying to figure it out. And they were like, they couldn't figure it out. And they're like, I don't know about the young girl. I don't know about her. And I'm like, I don't know. I think she's solid. And it turns out she was like the most solid of all of them. And like, it was the
That's good.
PhDs that were the problem.
Oh my
And, like, Ryan
gosh.
Piotrowski. Did you see the form? Everybody wants to know about the foreman. Did you see that coming, that he was going to be like leader of the Karen Reed is guilty of manslaughter movement?
Not even in the slightest bit. No. I mean, that was like, I don't know, multiple personality disorder, but no, there is absolutely no way that I would have seen that coming. It actually was quite the opposite.
Did you ever talk to him at all? Do you guys,
Yeah.
I mean, you spent a lot of time together, right?
Yeah, if there was a
we're in two
medical
different jury
professional that
rooms,
looks at this
so,
and
I mean,
thinks
we didn't,
guilty,
like,
yeah,
I-
I'd be
we lived in
suspicious
the
too.
other
Like,
jury
I
rooms,
don't
so it
want that
wasn't
for
like
my
we were sitting down
doctor.
eating lunch together every day. But,
I don't want that
mean, he
person
was
diagnosing me
right
or
in
telling
my
me
little
what to do.
corner. So yeah, I mean,
Ay.
What'd you guys talk about?
everything but the trial. I mean,
I don't even know what that means. Like, all I talk about is the trial, so I don't even know. I guess you talk about sports. What do you guys even talk about?
I mean, every time there was a sidebar, we would just talk about
Sidebar.
the annoyances of that and laugh about it. I mean, I'm trying to
Like,
think
that's
what
just
we
crazy
talked
not to be able to talk about the one thing that you all have in common,
Well, so
which is
that's-
this thing that you're all sitting through this fucking trial, and like, how tempting is it not to get back to the jury room and be like, bro, if he says it's snowing one more fucking time, I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we all had the facial expressions of that, you know, the eye rolls and stuff like that. So I mean, there were things like that we probably said without saying them. But I mean, no, honestly, we got to the end of conversations. Like, you know, we were talking about houses, we were talking about shoes, we were talking about you know,
So, yeah, I'm gonna go down
puzzles.
the
We
list.
did puzzles. I mean, we talked about people's kids. Literally anything to talk about. It's like making small talk with 18 people for 32 days. It's
My
you know, you
gosh.
connect to some people, and those are the people you know actually try and get to know. You know, we spent time talking about Victoria being pregnant a lot, right? And she didn't feel great, so trying to help her. But then other people, you just
I didn't know
make
a
small
pregnant
talk.
person could be on a
pissed.
jury. Is that what she's saying?
When they pulled her number out, she seemed pissed. Like, what the? Like, it was noticeably like, bro.
Oh,
like,
so
you
she
could
was one
tell
of the
she
people
wanted
taken
to
off?
deliberate badly.
Yeah,
And then
because
she
like
came in the
spending
second
3
day of
months of your
deliberations
pregnancy
in a bright pink dress.
stuck
never
in a
been prouder.
courtroom. That sounds
Yeah,
bad.
and it was reported in the media.
Maybe
Ay, ay,
maybe
ay.
the other day was when she
Can't imagine
filed her
something.
name on the
Oh, like it's
Karen
been your whole
Reed
working
team,
day
but
for 4 weeks and
those
still
were my
finding
two
other things to talk about.
Victoria.
That's
Oh,
true.
Right. Did you know she was
Ay,
going to
ay,
do that?
ay.
Did you know that she was joining the team?
No.
I guess. Oh, I guess they needed a break.
That was
They,
pretty
they,
cool.
I think they desperately
hope it
needed
helps.
something
I hope
else
that
to
she-
talk.
Do you
I
still
don't
talk
know.
to Victoria?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And she hasn't been around. A lot of the trolls have started to spread the rumor that Victoria George quit on Karen Reed. That she found out information and now she's flipping. And is that true? Is any of that true? Is she still cool
No.
with Karen Reed?
No, that's not true. Victoria has 4 children, as we all know. So,
Well, we don't all know that. You know that.
well, I mean, I've seen it on the internet, so I assume that the internet knows. And she was pregnant during the trial, the first one. So, she's got, younger kids, right? I mean, no,
Right.
she hasn't, there's none of that.
Oh yeah, so if she
going
has 4 kids, she
Right.
would have had
So-
a couple or
Just
2 or
as a
3 young
believer,
kids,
She was on, whatever day.
and she would have been
decided
pregnant
she was a
during
believer.
that trial.
So I
Oh
want to
no.
go
We don't
down.
want her.
I'm going to go down. I'm going to give you a list of names here, one by one, and I want you to tell me your first initial, either in one word or in just one small sentence.
Yeah.
What comes to mind
Hey, hey.
when I say the names of these witnesses? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Colin Albert.
Who falls on their knuckles when they slip on ice? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, she
answer.
remembers all these
What
people.
about Brian Higgins?
Higgins, that sounds familiar.
Oh,
See what
God.
the people from
Uh,
Canton?
He does not know how to flirt.
That's what you took?
Oh
from
my
him,
gosh,
was
is that the guy
messages?
who's
As
texting
your-
I
Karen?
mean, you're asking me the first thought in my head. That's the first thought, right?
All right.
So,
What about Yuri Buchanan?
oh my God.
Okay.
Uh,
Yep, she is cooking.
the
She's
inverted
cooking
video
chat.
is not the same. It's not the same. It's backwards. It's not just a mirror vision. It's bullshit.
Did he almost hit you with his cufflinks? Because you were very close, and his elbow hangs up high, real close to the jury.
Elbows up. Oh no,
I
not
don't remember.
Canada.
Actually, I don't remember now. Maybe. I think I was too shocked by the inverted video.
Okay. What about Jennifer McCabe?
I don't
Sorry.
know why she always looked at me and
Oh!
smiled.
Oh, did she?
That's
She was
weird.
looking at you.
It seemed like it. I know maybe it
Yeah,
was just my.
I was not allowed in the courtroom for the Jennifer McCabe testimony.
Huh.
As you know, I was removed. But so I didn't see the jury's reactions to her. But it's impossible not to notice that she kept looking at the jury for like.
That's
3,
creepy. I wouldn't want her
you
looking
guys
at me like,
believe me. I'm a good
ew.
person. I'm just like a normal mom. Like, you guys. She kept looking at you guys, and she was looking for like approval. Like she wanted to
Sympathy.
see what you guys looked like. Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
believe me, right? And so, did you believe her?
No.
That's
Definitely
funny.
not.
Do you believe she Googled how long to die in cold at 2:27?
100%. Yes, I do.
Ah.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think that I do. Yep.
All right, let's do some more names.
I mean,
Ian Whiffen.
I feel like
What did you
she's
think of
easy
him?
to read through, but I guess there are certain people that
I think he wanted
just
me to buy his homegrown
But just, like,
software
fall for
app
whatever she
more than
says.
he
I don't
wanted
quite
to convince me
understand.
that Jennifer McCabe did not Google how long to die in cold.
What about Brian Albert?
I don't know how he didn't come out of the house.
Yeah, that's
What
weird.
was it like sitting next to him when he looked at you guys and he thanked the jury?
Yes.
And then on the day that you were removed, he was standing right behind you. He was sitting right behind you,
Yeah.
staring at you.
Yep.
And
That's creepy.
What was that like? Were you? I mean, he's a big boy.
Meaning, like when he was on the stand, or the day I walked in.
Let's do both. What was it like being on the stand with him with the Mr. Rogers look, and then
The only piece of evidence speaking to consciousness of guilt that didn't happen when a person was panicking. Hoslong.
I didn't notice that he was there until I left, and by that point, I was like, tunnel vision, get me out of here, and I was contemplating should I yell "Free Karen Read" in the courtroom, but then I was like, maybe I'll go to jail, so I shouldn't do that. So I just left.
Okay.
When he was on the stand, I mean, I watched him even when he wasn't talking. When the defense was talking, when people were asking him questions, I was still watching him because I wanted to see more of his reactions, not to questions, but in between the questions and things. Because
interesting how reactions are
at them at that
so
time,
important.
So I continued to look
to the jury.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word, and I just don't know that.
What did you think of his whole Mr. Rogers look that he had on there? You didn't believe his whole thing about answering the phone while he was having sex. I mean, when you heard that?
I mean, I think I laughed because, I laughed at a lot of those things. What else do you do?
Yeah. Okay. What did you think when Julie Albert said bukkake twice in the courtroom? What went through your head when you heard that?
I didn't know what that meant until last week.
As counsel, you'd have to keep track of the jury's reactions without staring them
last
down.
week because somebody said it to me.
You don't sound very exciting then. Okay, but either
I guess
way,
counsel would be
I'm just
whoever is
kidding, I'm
on,
just kidding.
by the
I
judge.
had no idea.
Is that
So
right?
I thought it was just like.
Oh, wait, no,
like
counsel,
his
is that like
nickname
defense
that they
counsel?
called him, and I was kind of like, that's weird that she's calling him his nickname. But I didn't know anything more than that until literally last week. So.
What did you know who I was when I was in court? Like, had you heard of me before? Because they've accused you of being like a Turtle Boy plant. Did you know who I was? Did you, when you saw me in court and we were looking at each other for 10 weeks, did you have any idea who I was then? What are your thoughts on me?
I mean, I recognized you, yes. But we didn't know each other. I mean, you did a story about a Christmas tree, and that's how I knew. But other than that, no. I mean, I didn't know you at all. I've never spoken to you until when? August?
Yeah. You reached out to me.
Legal counsel's
in
lawyers.
an anonymous email, August. I thought I was getting trolled.
I remember that.
And then I did. You're like, no.
Now I see why. For what it's worth, now I see why.
And then we FaceTime. And I'm like, oh shit, it's her. Oh wow. Okay, cool.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, let's keep doing the names thing though. I like this. Let me think of some.
Okay.
First thing that you think of, Michael Proctor.
I just.
This is actually a really entertaining stream, isn't it?
Longer before then. I mean, I just.
What about Paul? What about Paul O'Keefe?
He's like just. He's just an angry person, I think. I mean, he is just a very angry person.
Scary
and
face.
he's not angry at the right people.
That's
And
O'Keefe's
I think
brother?
he's completely delusional.
Is that right? Like
in
the
terms of,
victim's
like,
brother?
What actually happened?
You were looking at him for 10 weeks in a row. Did he? And this jury, apparently, somebody felt uncomfortable with Paul because he was forced to move his seat after the second or third week, and he now sits in the back row. Did Paul make you feel uncomfortable at all the way he was staring at Karen Read and jurors?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love the way that he would stare at Karen, but Yannetti did such a great job, like blocking her when it started becoming so obvious that that was what was happening. I mean, honestly, I don't know how she sits there every single day and doesn't scream because it's just, I mean, it's just crazy to me that she has so much self-control that she can sit there and not scream. And the internet finds one face that she makes and makes it out like she's this terrible person. I mean, you try and sit there all day and listen to this and not say a word.
Yeah, what'd you think of the faces Karen Read made? Some people find it a turnoff, others don't care. What did you think of the faces?
I always thought she had a very neutral expression.
I mean, honestly, there is a lot of things that happen in that courtroom that you do not see on television.
Huh.
So
Like what?
Well, I mean, what you see is one face that she may make on a particular day when the camera pans on her, but you don't see her when she sits there the entire time, when people are, being asked questions about her. And I watched her quite a bit, and I watched like her demeanor, right? And people say she doesn't have any emotion or thing. If you watch her, yeah, she really does, but she's trying hard to not have the emotion, likely because she's told not to. So there's a lot of things that happen in that courtroom that you don't see on TV. And Karen's demeanor is one of them.
All right. So back to the
and I wish everybody could see what we saw of her, because it would really change people's.
Well, we kind of do this time around. There's a Karen cam this time around that's showing her the whole time. The Zoom picture picks up on her, and I do feel like this time her facial expressions aren't. She's definitely making less of them this time around.
Yeah, I think last time she laughed once.
Her face in general. And let's be honest,
the judge got very angry at her.
And you just pause it at the right time, you can get anyone making a funny face. Like the fucking. Did you see the New York Post today?
No.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Their headline. You got to see it.
Something funny. Miss Reed.
Fucking outrageous.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second to pull it up. Like I've
Judge
never
Granoni's scary.
seen anything this offensive than their headline. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna pull it up now. Wait till you see this goddamn headline. This is outrageous. I'm sure some people in the chat have seen this, but this is the New York Post today. Okay.
Oh.
It says. Oh, seriously?
What?
Yeah, Karen Reed.
Sinister smirk.
Karen Reed. Sinister smirk. Photos of her dead cop boyfriend were shown in court, and it's like, and then I go to read
that's not
it.
like the exact
trash
moment
journalism,
of course.
Just absolute trash journalism.
Yeah.
And it's by some reporter who we're going to shame right now.
Okay.
We have 17,000 people
That's so
watching. Smash that
weird.
subscribe button if you're
Because
new
like
yet.
if they're showing
All right.
images or videos, then the lights would be
It's
off,
the
but the lights
biggest-
are on in that photo,
congratulations,
so
it's the
obviously
biggest
that
show
was
I've
during
ever
a
had.
break or something.
17,000 live viewers, so you're welcome.
I don't think I'm that entertaining, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could be You could be a little more entertaining, but.
All right.
Oh my
okay, I'm gonna try.
gosh.
I didn't
Okay.
realize.
All right. So it
Oh,
says
poor
Karen Reed
Butcher.
Sinister smirk as gory photos of her dead cop boyfriend are shown. This is by Anna Young. Who's this? Does she have a bio here? I click on it. So there's Anna Young. Okay, she
Anna
sucks.
Young.
She's a
Duh.
joke.
Yeah, seems
she's
like
trash. And I go and let's read the article. It says Karen Reed had a sinister smirk during yesterday's murder retrial. The same day jurors were shown gruesome photos of her boyfriend's battered, lifeless body. She grinned.
Turtle Boy about to
manically
start the craziest
as
weekly
graphic
podcast with all
images
the
of
jurors.
Jonathan's
Yeah, I
bruised
think
and
so.
bloodied body
Oh
were
my
revealed to the jury as an
gosh.
expert witness testified that the blunt
They
force
never
trauma that
showed
killed
those
the Boston
images
cop
on
wasn't
camera,
consistent
like
with
for the
being struck
public.
by an
But-
SUV. Perhaps she
I don't
was
think-
smiling because she was vindicated by this testimony. Has that ever
Ah.
occurred to this woman that she's
Yeah, 'cause
spent
she
the
would have
last
seen
3
these
years
images a lot, I would
being framed for a
imagine.
murder she didn't commit,
She
and
would have
now
access to the evidence. I'm sure it hurts
highly
for her to
acclaimed
see those images, but
doctor
still, it's like
and medical
after
examiner
it's been so
is
long, maybe
showing
she's
these
kind of numb
injuries
to
and
it.
saying those didn't come from someone who died from hypothermia and was hit by a car. Who wouldn't be happy? They call that sinister. This is outrageous. Am I alone in this world thinking this is outrageous?
No, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think they panned the camera away
The
when all
body
these
did
artists
not have
played.
any
Yeah.
hypothermia, she testified. Who wouldn't smile about that? And then, she displayed the Joker line.
Oh my
grin as an expert
Ay,
witness
ay, ay.
testified. There was no evidence. A Joker line grin. Are you fucking?
They must have had to
kidding me?
search a lot to
So,
find that
I mean,
photo.
I'm just going to say this, and I hope that she doesn't get upset with me, but I watched Karen the first time around with the autopsies.
Yep.
She sat there the entire time, taking deep breaths. You could tell she was upset. I don't know if it was photos, this, that. I don't know what it was exactly, but I could see her taking deep breaths and trying to calm
JOK?
herself down.
I don't know what that means,
So this
but
is the biggest bunch of
Yeah.
fucking bullshit.
I as
Because
a
this
student
is
of art
one
history,
photo
I've
that
seen so
somebody
many weird and like violent
and,
images that's
you
like,
know,
oh,
went through a
okay,
video to
that's
find the
just what
absolute
happened, I
worst
guess.
freeze frame that they could find to put it on the internet. Yet they don't watch her
Oh,
every
John,
single
okay,
day
okay.
in the moments when, you know, nobody is paying attention to her.
Right. Right.
I guess
And-
that's it's so infuriating because these things are not how she's reacting.
Yep.
Not at least when I was there. And I watched her for 10 weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad this juror's
I watched her a
actually
lot
talking
for
about
10
that.
weeks.
Right.
That's good.
And you weren't at all offended, obviously, by the faces Karen Reed made or anything like that. I mean, I'm just so disgusted that they actually put this out there. I don't even know where to start, but it's just absolutely disgusting that this is the state of the media, that they would put something out like that. But
No, and that's why the one that was on the camera, I mean, that was the problem. It was she did not like the faces that Karen was making, and that's what I said to
yeah,
a court officer.
if anybody can find Anna Young's Twitter account, please let me know so we can absolutely destroy her and shame her as she should be, because that is disgusting and you should not.
Oh my
You need
gosh,
clapback
it's
if
funny.
you're gonna get something like that. You know, just outrageous, absolutely fucking outrageous that you'd put a headline like that. So,
It's just, I mean, what's the point of it? It's just not nice, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't this poor woman have enough shit on her plate that she doesn't need to open the New York fucking Post and see pictures of herself like this? Like, put yourself in her shoes for just 1 second. It's just
Okay.
awful.
Well, you know,
you could compare this to
media
like
isn't
the
required
Diddy
to be
case.
nice.
Diddy actually did a lot of really bad
And
things.
a headline like that, my problem with it is it's dishonest.
I don't
because
know. This
there's-
woman,
It's not
like
sinister.
this woman just like this
First of
thing
all, to catch her
happened, and
smiling is not sinister.
whether it's
It
true
may-
or not,
maybe just they're having a.
you
she's
don't
actively
say
involved in
someone
the
has a
defense team.
Joker
They're having a discussion
face.
about
I don't
something.
think that's right.
And some good testimony came out that's
The only
helping
thing the
her
defendant
case.
can do is
and
try their
she
best to be a
smiles.
statue.
Well,
There's
I feel
nothing
like
they can
only
do
a
that's
woman
right.
would come up with
Yeah.
a headline like that, because only a woman could be that catty.
It's like being at a
towards another
funeral or
woman to
something.
Be like, oh, she's smiling, that bitch.
Or, like, maybe she said, I really have to pee. I hope this goes fast. Or maybe she said, I'm so annoyed because my hair looked great when I left the hotel this morning, and now I feel like it's frizzing because it's so freaking humid in here because I'm
People in the industry were talking about it for years
Like,
before the
who
actual
knows what
arrest
she
took
said?
place.
And who cares?
What was it like not
Oh, yeah,
being
yeah,
able to
the
go to
Diddy
the
thing.
bathroom
Yeah, yeah,
whenever you wanted? I mean, I was in court today, and I had to pee wicked bad by like 12:30, and I'm like, the fake victim was up, and I'm like, but I can't miss this. I got to write down I can't leave. Period. It's my trial.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, that must have sucked.
Well, I mean, we got to leave and pee when we had to, but
Even though they're not
nobody
really
wanted to be
saying
the
Diddy didn't
person
do
that
anything, they're
had-
arguing
nobody-
that what he
nobody
did
wanted to
doesn't
be
mean
the
the
person that was
legal
like,
definitions for the
"Excuse me, I have to
charges. It's
pee."
like, yeah,
But then as
everybody
soon as
knows
one
he
person
did those
it,
things.
You know, we would all run
It's
back and
confirmed.
everybody was very grateful because everybody had to pee. So,
But here they are.
But these are, like,
It's
these are
like
the
they're trying to
dumbest things that
distract
we,
people
like,
from the
were
Diddy
thinking about.
case. Isn't it
So,
like that?
Let me give you some more names.
I don't know.
Lucky
Like,
Lockwood. What'd you think of him? Because what
I
really
loved
pissed.
him.
Oh my gosh, oh, Lucky.
You
He
did.
is the
Yeah, I feel like
sweetest
it's
man.
the
He is the
is.
sweetest man.
Karen Reed, and then
like he just wanted to plow the roads.
maybe like the riots. I feel like it's all
felt
convenient
bad about
timing.
hitting the basketball net, and
Did he do
you
it?
know,
He answered.
He just
Real
was
question:
such
Is
a
he
nice
guilty?
man.
Yes.
Well, that's nice to hear, because Ronnie said that they found him the least credible of all the witnesses.
Wait,
when I asked
what?
Him, like, which witness was the
They
least
found him
credible?
least
They were
credible. He
like,
was
"Ron-"
there
he
at the
said
scene.
Lucky. And I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you know, sometimes you can't fix common sense.
Yeah. So let me think of some more names. Would you Tristan Morris? What comes to mind when I say that name? Anything?
Oh, how much trouble he got in when he got home for saying that what's her face was high maintenance, and
Wait,
that
what?
kid seriously had no idea what day, time, or month it was.
Yeah.
Everything
see,
was I don't remember, right?
he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember anything. Let's see. What about Allie McCabe?
McCabe?
Ooh, she got caught. She got caught.
You're talking about
slipping up
physics, but what
when
about
she
common
said that
sense?
Colin wasn't in the house when
Yeah.
John was there.
Did you pick up on that when you
I
were?
did.
When,
Yep.
You did.
I did. Yep.
You did. Oh wow.
did.
A lot of people didn't pick up on that, but you picked
Yep.
up on that when she said that. That's interesting.
Oh, when she said what now?
She also
I missed
cried,
that.
and it was about me. She was
did.
kind of the first one to cry about me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she did.
Were you buying her tears when she cried?
I mean, look, you never want somebody to cry because you never want someone to feel bad. But I mean, you know, that wasn't why I was there to feel bad for her. I was there to figure out if, you know, Karen was guilty or innocent. So,
What did you think of the Canton police, like Seraph and Gallagher and Good? What did you think of them?
Brittany, if
were
the laws of
very
physics disagree
unmemorable
with
to
your
me.
common sense, you might need to dig a bit deeper on the root cause.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I watched
I mean,
we
obviously there's
watched their
something
dash
wrong.
cam videos. I remember writing everything down as they were talking because for some reason I felt like the footage between the street and the flagpole was like gonna make a difference, and turns out it didn't. So I think, yeah, they were not memorable to me.
What did you think of the Sullivan sluts?
Oh, Mean Girls. Mean
Really?
Girls.
Sullivans?
Okay. You
I
thought they were
don't,
Mean Girls?
I don't know those ones.
Oh, Mean Girls. They pointless and mean.
Interesting. I think a lot of people share that opinion about them, just especially since Karen apparently paid for their room too. Like whatever disagreement they had, one of them said that like, yeah, but later on she came and apologized and then offered to pay for our cabana or whatever.
Maybe it was just.
Yes, I
on their
remember
rooms.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe
so-
they were
I was like,
mentioned
why are you
last
so
year.
mean then if she'd offered to pay for your stuff? Can't we just
Yeah.
like get over it?
Yeah. Well, they were just like justice for Johnny, you know, like we need to come back. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you think of the kids testifying? What were your thoughts on that when they
Kids
I
testified?
was in there for that.
I mean, I don't see any reason why that was done, honestly. I mean, I guess it sounds like this time around, I forget who testified, the
Girl.
girl. So it sounds like she wanted to this time, right? I mean, it just seemed awful to put them up there, honestly. That was I was annoyed
Whose kids?
very much with Lally that he brought them in there. I just did not see that it was any point at all.
Kids? John O'Keefe was
Okay.
taking care of.
Uh,
Oh,
you
I
weren't
forgot
moved by the
about
testimony, they
them.
didn't do much
Yeah,
to- I mean,
wasn't
I think
Karen
that's a
also
common- especially
kind of
the young-
babysitting them a
especially
lot?
the boy. I mean, he added.
Were they brought in this time, or was it just the first
no, I mean,
time?
it's not that I didn't, you know, I feel for the kids, of course. It's an awful situation.
Mhm.
And two things can be true at the same time. It can be an awful situation, and they shouldn't have had to sit in a courtroom and talk about it.
All right.
So,
What did you
I mean,
now
that
this
was my
time
take
around?
on it.
So this time around, I know you said you haven't watched the trial as much this time around, but it's a very different trial,
Right.
and there's some very different witnesses. Have you seen? Have you been generally like? If I said the name,
Hey,
Dr.
John O'Keefe would
Laposado,
complain
you
that
know who that is?
Karen
Have you
was
seen any of
spoiling
the
them.
testimony?
is she the one?
Isn't it a good thing if
she
she's
is the
spoiling
medical
them?
examiner yesterday that said
She's trying to
she had
be
the best
nice
line of the day.
to
What
them.
was it? I didn't look because it doesn't
That
matter. 'cause
makes
it didn't-
sense for her to
she
do
didn't hit him with
that.
a car or something.
Yeah, she's the queen.
Like
She's
complaining
the
in,
best
like-
ever at
Like
everything.
a funny way or
So
in a bad
you
way? Hey.
wish you saw her in the first trial. Like,
Yes.
you feel
She would have been. She was definitely more convincing, more concise
Yeah.
than
Hey.
Dr. Sheridan.
Yes, because Dr. Sheridan. What'd you think of him?
I mean, he seemed like a nice man. He seemed like, you know, an intelligent man, but he also seemed, I mean,
He's
very
intelligent,
old.
but
And
Yes, he had an accent too. He had a heavy accent, and he did seem very old. Yes.
I don't remember if he was difficult to understand now that you're saying that. I forgot he had an accent.
Oh, he did. It's a very strong accent too. So
Okay. I don't remember that, but
yeah, and he was older. You know, he seemed experienced at all, but you're right. He did seem
experienced but out of practice a little bit, I think. That's, I think, how I would have, I think that's how I looked at it. Experienced but out of practice.
and just not as confident. Dr. Laposada, I've never seen somebody as confident as her, and just not.
Another
like,
example of
Judd
evidence
Welcher
that's more
was
prejudicial than
arrogant for no
probative
reason,
being brought
whereas
in.
Dr. Laposado was so confident
Whoa.
and I don't know if cocky or
Probative?
self-assured
Probative?
in her answers. Just that
Huge
she
W on
just
T-Bag.
had alpha
Hi,
male
hi.
like presence to her. Like it was so fucking awesome.
She was a spitfire for sure. I mean, she was just like giving it back.
Yes. So what about trying to think who else in this trial, the new ones that you didn't see. So you never saw Kelly Dever or Dever.
No.
Did you watch her testimony this time around?
I didn't watch the whole
Dever?
thing. I watched pieces and parts
I think
of it.
I remember her. She was she
and
rude?
I don't
Yeah, I think she was.
I don't know how she got away with being that disrespectful.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's interesting because the defense talked to her 2 months, or actually right before the first trial began, and they
What
elected
could the
not
kids possibly do for the jury
to
other than
bring
make
her
them feel bad
on
about John
as a
O'Keefe's
witness
passing?
because
Yeah.
so they get the TUI report in
The kids
in
didn't have to
February,
be
and they're like,
there.
"Oh, she was in there.
That
And,
that's
she says in
weird.
the TUI report that she saw Higgins and Ken Berkowitz alone in the Sallyport garage for a wildly long period of time and so they immediately are like, let's call her as a witness, right? Let's call her up. And then they call her up and she's like, actually, that was a false memory. Now that I talked to Chief Cox, Commissioner Cox, I suddenly remembered that I don't remember that. But the defense this time, even though she had the same story she did a year ago, they're like, fuck it. It's worth the risk. We're calling her now. Do you wish you heard her as a witness, as a juror, and do you think it helped the defense to bring her on?
I think she looked like, she looked like someone who was trying to
start an OnlyFans?
She looked like someone who was trying to cover an ass because she shouldn't have said something to begin with, and now she was like going back
Oh, she's
and
talking
trying
very
to
quickly.
correct it. Like somebody clearly said something to her. It seems like, seeing her.
CJ, the bad lady took away this innocent
I
child's
think
caregiver.
if they brought her in
Hi.
at that point, I would have just been like, all right, whatever. You're
Oh,
just
like
one
how they
more
brought up
person that's
the
decided
mother
to
onto
tell
the
the truth today,
stand, and then
so
the
that's fine.
defense
And I'm
just
just
said,
gonna
"Oh,
move
no
on with my life."
questions."
Okay.
Um,
So do you
but-
think it was helpful or not to bring her on?
I think it was helpful for defense in the sense that she definitely came across as
I think in about
just
10 minutes I'll
rude,
wrap up.
and that she didn't want to be there, and that obviously
is
because she
getting
said she
late.
didn't know why she was there, but she seemed like she was trying to backtrack and be like, I didn't say that, or I was misremembering. Like, how do
Jury
you
3 doesn't have to
misremember
slow
that
down
kind
for
of
the
stuff?
court reporter time to cook
So
on
no,
high speed.
I
That's
think
a
she
good
helped.
point.
I think she
Yeah, let her
showed-
cook.
I think she would have been better for the third party conspiracy as opposed to the reasonable doubt with no collision. So for that, I don't know that she necessarily did anything, but I think she would have been more fuckery in the first trial,
All right.
if
So
that makes sense.
she would have been more fuckery, like.
Meaning
no,
like one more person that was just saying ridiculous things.
Okay, yeah. So it would have only reestablished. Yeah, you're right. Like I get what you're saying. That she would just been another person that's like makes you roll your eyes, like what the fuck is going on here? But
Yeah.
that Ronnie would have called the distractor.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Nicholas Barros, let's talk about him. When he
I
first,
love him.
So when he testified in the first trial, which you were a juror in, he
Nicholas
said
Barros,
that the
who's
taillight
that?
was cracked but not completely broken. What did you think of that when he said that?
I believed him. He had no reason to say anything other than the truth. I completely believed him. I wish the defense had crossed him.
And you wish the defense had crossed him?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay. And asked him like they did this time. Did the
Yes.
taillight look like this?
Yep. That was one thing that I think they
can't
learned from
find a
trial one
picture.
is that him just saying that wasn't enough, and they needed to establish
Oh,
that
I think I see.
much more.
That's the first thing.
And
I don't
he-
recognize him
Go
though.
ahead.
And when he said, absolutely not, with such
This guy?
certainty, that's what they needed.
That was powerful.
Yes,
that's-
exactly.
Your jury did not hear that. This jury did.
No, we
Which
didn't
is-
hear it. Nope.
And that's one of 10 reasons I can think of. Let me tell you 10 reasons just off the top of my head why I think this second jury is going to acquit her more than your jury, right? Okay, so the testimony of Nicholas Barros was so much stronger because of absolutely not. That's one.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, I
The
agree.
testimony of Lucky Loughran was better because of the way that he held up during cross examination with
That's
Hank.
true.
Just refused to budge, refused to say that he was a victim of bullying or whatever, like any of
Aw.
that shit. Okay. There was no Dr. La Posada in trial one. Okay. I think she was a huge addition. It makes them a million times stronger.
Oh,
I think
she
that
wasn't
the
there. I thought I
architects
recognized her.
Were 10
Yeah,
times
she was
better
good.
this
She was
time
very good this
than they were
this time.
the first time because they had all those videos, which they didn't have the first time, showing this. They more visuals, like they didn't have a single visual in the first trial. They just sat there and explained the science to you and all that stuff. What else makes this time a million times stronger? Who else? What am I thinking, Check? Give me some help here.
Marie Russell was way more confident, way more prepared this time.
Yeah, I think so.
And she was sassy back to Hank too, which I don't think she was sassy enough back to Lally the first time around when she was like, oh, no, that was the best thing I've ever seen. I love her. She was much more confident this time around too. I think everybody that they've put on has been far more confident this time.
And I think that Hank is ultimately a
net
negative
lawyers
for
and
them.
witnesses.
This is my
I
number
think
6 reason why.
At the very least, it's the second time
Lally
around,
was more
all the
likable
witnesses have to know how
than
public this
Hank
is. So it's
Brennan
kind of
was.
like
People felt bad
advertising
for him.
their own work.
You know, or do
in a
you
way.
disagree?
Likeable, I don't know. Feeling bad for, maybe. Hank, I mean, he's nowhere near in the category of Hank. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Hank's just mean, and he just is a bully. Lally was.
Oh, she's cutting
Lally
up.
wasn't a bully, but he was
there.
just kind of no personality.
Yeah.
No
I want to tell
personality.
Barb here. I want to tell somebody to go fuck themselves.
It's like,
Hey,
you're not a good
Barb,
person, you're not a bad person, you're just mid.
Go fuck yourself,
That's
Barb.
like the
Get
worst,
the fuck out of here, you cunt.
worst thing you
Anyway,
possibly
I
say.
just had to tell Barb that because I saw that. And I hate it when people tell me to comment. Don't tell me how to talk, Barb. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway, so that's.
Like, you would think people would know that by
I
now,
know
not
you
to
would
tell
think
what
it's
to
like
do.
you got the wrong channel. I don't know where you've been, right? I just had to say that. Number 7, Bob Alessi this time around, right? They didn't have him.
Oh,
the first
yeah.
time
Oh, I think
around, and I
Alessi
think that he
is helping a
very
lot
good
with their
and
case.
better than the
Mid
other
versus
attorneys
trash, you can
at
choose one.
technical shit.
At least
and
with the
breaking it
trash
down
one, you could make fun of
and
it, but
going
mid
through
is
with
just
the-
like, ugh.
his best cross-examination in this whole trial was with the medical examiner, right? He was so good with
Yeah.
her, and with Ian Whiffen, he was really
Aye,
good too,
aye, aye.
and just explaining why these people are bullshit. You didn't have Bob Alessi. What do you think of him? You didn't sit through him.
No, so I do think he's definitely. I mean, he's definitely It's easier to follow when he breaks everything down, because he goes kind of step by step. For those of us that are not science jurors, which definitely is me. I mean, I was picking out the key sentences because a lot of things, was over my head, right? I didn't, if I use the ME as an example, you can say that all the medical terms and all of this, and I don't understand that. But what I understand is the injuries are not consistent with being hit by a car. And that's all I needed to know. But then for somebody who's more science focused, right, they need that breakdown. So that's where Alessi is helping so much for those types of jurors, like the science, the engineer ones, right? They saw that last time around. So
You're
I think
right.
that's where it's helping.
Yeah, you're right. You do, because like one of the leaders of the Lynch County Reed movement in the jury last time was an engineer.
Correct.
And he believed he was smarter than the ARCA experts, I believe. This time
Which is
around, I don't know how he could think that.
That
after this
was
time
really
around, because they
weird.
really walked them through everything that they were saying, and they explained more so in detail the science and the physics of how.
And
like,
he's
what his arm would
challenging
look
them. It's like,
how
wait,
many
what?
shards of glass, shards of tail light wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
even
'cause
catch up to the
didn't,
arm. It wouldn't even be like it's not traveling.
the
he's explaining
prosecution's
velocity and all
own
this shit. It's
witnesses,
just
like one
fascinating
or two of them
how
didn't
he
have a
explained it
proper
all. That
resume,
didn't
like it wasn't
happen
true.
in the first trial. So
Aperture was on the jury?
What
The
are some
jury?
other reasons why I think
Is that what
this
he
time
said?
around was better? I think that honestly, just the
Aperture
the
science.
lack of the conspiracy shit. It's
We
like,
do what
you
we
believed
must
it,
because
you
we can.
thought it was effective. That's what sold you, but ultimately that didn't sell enough people on the jury. And so I think that ultimately not going that route is going to be a positive, even though I agreed with it 2 weeks ago, right? But you know what I mean? It was like I was at that point too, though.
I was going to say we agreed 2 weeks ago, and I think we agree now that we should.
I was worried.
trust the
I was
defense.
very worried.
Yeah.
There was an
We should
engineer
trust the
that
defense
thought
team,
they were
right?
smarter
They
than
have a
Arca.
strategy, just 'cause we don't know it.
Okay.
So we're sitting here all
Ay,
day. Like, what do you
ay.
mean you're not calling Proctor? What do you mean you're not
That's
calling?
funny.
Brian Higgins. But
But then
I mean,
I don't think anyone from
it
Aperture
was
could
the
be
smart
on
way
the
to go
jury,
because
right?
now there's
Because
nobody to refute some of the things that were said.
Aperture-
Right, yeah.
People were
You know,
witnesses, and
decorated
that wouldn't be
dude, you
right.
can't come on there and
Is it
talk
possible?
about how none of this
No,
stuff
I don't
happened.
think so.
Exactly.
But Brian Albert doesn't have a chance to explain his bullshit away. He doesn't get to explain why he didn't come out of the house. The jurors are just left with that the dude didn't come out of the house. He never came out of the house. You know?
And that's, I think, and that's the different strategy that they're taking this time, right? Whereas before it was the conspiracy, and this time it's, these are the things, right? But there's nobody coming in to explain all of these things away, all of the weirdness of why he didn't come out of the house. I mean, that's going to be a big focal point, I think, in closings as well as it was in opening. Because
Are they in the first trial,
so
or did they?
unbelievable
Did
that a first responder
the
doesn't
Commonwealth
come out of
hire
their
them
house.
to rebut ARCA? I don't remember them being in the first trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it 2
That
weeks
makes
ago. I
sense.
understand
Yeah,
it
like
better
they
now.
would have needed some group to
so,
counter whatever ARCA said.
So I'll tell you later
Hey.
about the message I just got. But you know,
Oh,
I
God.
think imagine just what do you think Karen Reed's going through right now? Like
What's
the
Karen
thoughts that
going
are in her head. Imagine being in her shoes right now.
Oy,
where
oy.
you're about to have your fate left up to 12 strangers.
No.
Imagine that.
No, I can't even imagine it. I can't. She is a strong, very brave woman. And I think, if all of us could be half of as great as she is, then we'd all be better people, honestly. I mean, I don't know how she
Wow,
does it. I really don't.
that's an interesting way to put it.
I don't either.
She's
'cause,
amazing.
As somebody who's been twice now in the last 3 or 4 months, I have stood in front of a judge after Robert Cosgrove has filed a motion to revoke my bail for 60 days, right? And I've stood in front of that judge.
Oy, oy.
And let me tell you, it happened in Stoughton, and then it happened again in Dedham. And I was shitting my pants. Like, I was so scared.
Yeah, that
And,
does sound
'cause I'm like,
terrifying.
oh my God, 60! I can't go to jail for 60 days. I can't. Like, no, 60 days. You know?
Yeah, that's only
Whereas
60
if you're
days compared
Karen
to
Reed now,
yeah.
You're like, holy shit.
Ay,
Like, if I was her, I
ay.
wouldn't want to stop calling witnesses because I would just want to delay this as long as possible. Like, I would
Yeah.
just be too scared. I'd be so scared of deliberations that I would just want to delay it as long as possible. Like, let's call another fucking witness. Let's call the Asian house lady. Let's call Kelleher. Let's call I would just keep fucking calling people because I'm like, well, maybe Auntie Bev will be hit by lightning during this time. The longer I drag this out, the
gosh.
fucking better. You know what I mean? But I just can't imagine the finality of just
Yeah.
accepting that it's time to put my fate in the hands of 12 people. I can't imagine what that's like.
I mean, I can't either, but you got to believe that to some extent, right? She's just like, enough is enough, right? It's going to be what it's going to be. And she's,
Yeah, kind of have to trust that regular people will be able to see through all of that, but I guess it's not really. It's just not guaranteed, and that's the scary part. Ay. Well, it has been 2 hours, and it is late where I am, so I think I'm going to end the stream here. I'm not sure how to send you guys to Turtle Boys chat, but here, I'll just put the link here. Yeah. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll try streaming again tomorrow or the day after. Oh, she believed once it got 100. That's probably better the first time. And the first time when it could have been 5-minute deliberation to guilty. Yeah, that's true. Ay. So like, you could see it's possible, but still, it's terrifying. Doing it again? Oy. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is Purple Leon. Whenever you whenever you listen to the Blue Man Group, make sure you're not watching the Dollar Store Blue Man Group. Okay? Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.